Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everybody, to the 460th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. That was a hell of a Ford engine, and it's going to be a hell of a show. I'm your host, Matt DiGelinardo. With us today, Steve Wellings, Ozzie Smith, and Andy Patterson. We were treated to one hell of a day of boxing yesterday from top to bottom with fights going on all over the place. The main fight of the weekend, though, was Keith Thurman making his return after 2.5 years out of the ring and securing a victory after, I believe, more than 1,100 days without a victory with a unanimous decision over Mario Barrios. 118, 110 two times, 117, 111 once. I had it 118, 110 myself, with Thurman starting very well with the left. He was working in hooks and short uppercuts, apparently hurt his hand on one of those short uppercuts, had Barrios hurt in the fourth. He started doing nice little hook and slide moves in the fifth using his movement. And around the eighth round, he landed a great right hand. Barrios hurt him to the body, though. The story of Thurman's career, but per usual, didn't hit the canvas, kept going, and he basically won out on the cards going the rest of the way through. Oz, you called that points victory. I think all the gamblers saw that value because by the time I went to make my round robin for the weekend, what once was a plus 325 play had narrowed down to plus 160, which I thought might have been it was a sucker bet, and they thought they could buy people in. But I was wrong. You were right. Thurman, though, looking like a consummate boxer puncher. That was a good performance.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good performance, actually, given that how long he's been out the ring. And we said last week, it's not as if, he's had a couple of camps and then he's got injured, so he's actually been training. He's what's it called? He's actually just been doing nothing. So to come back, it was against a live opponent, albeit Barrios was being brought up in weight. It was still a live opponent. He could have fought somebody far worse. And I thought initially, and I think it was the first 6 rounds, I was actually quite worried in the perspective that I thought Thurman might well have got him out of there. But, he kind of did what Thurman does and just didn't go through the gears a little bit. Was certainly hurt to the body himself. However, for, what was it, 2 years out the ring, I thought it was a very, very good performance. Does he go and cause problems for the likes of Terence Crawford or Errol Spence? I don't think so. And I think the pair of them could probably get him out of there, actually, because they would work to that body. Do question Barrios' game plan because, it was evident, if you're going to box Thurman, you do try and work that body. And it was very, very limited in what they did. So I do question that. But that saying, I hope Thurman now remains active because he might not beat the likes of Spence or Crawford, it doesn't mean he can't have a say in the division. He's not going to be an easy fighter to beat. And he's certainly, like if he becomes active, you probably insert him in, without a doubt, the top 10 welterweights already. So there's fights there to be made for him. And it's a case of, I think he came through unscathed. I don't think, there's no reports of any bad hand injuries or anything like that. So fingers crossed, he might have a couple of weeks out the gym and he's straight back in, because the division will be better for having him active rather than just disappearing again for the next, 12, 18 months.
Keith Thurman that's in the ring is definitely good for boxing. He came in at 145 and a half pounds. Joe Goosen didn't know that was a good thing. But when I saw him in the ring, Andy, I noticed that his custom cornrows running into some dreads basically in the back were gone. I think Keith might have lost a pound of hair on that one. But he was doing 800 sit-ups in the gym each day, and he was doing 15-round sparring sessions, Andy. He still got touched to the body and it still hurt him, but I think he did build up his core. I think he did build up his stamina, his movement, not just lateral, but his upper body movement, exceptional.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of training videos of him and that. He's been working with heavy vests on and that as well, also, building up conditioning and that, to be honest. But I agree with what Ozzy was saying. Considering that it's like a ring shaker, or sorry, a wrist shaker as such, I thought he looked pretty well, to be honest with you. Certainly the first 3 or 4 rounds, very aggressive, stepping in with the jab, right hands. I don't know if it was a combination, maybe either getting hurt, as you said, maybe he got touched to the body a couple of times, either getting hurt, maybe got slightly gassed, or he just maybe wanted to pace himself a wee bit, because I thought he was a bit unsure about, kind of, is it kind of like, into the kind of latter half, and that's because of obviously that long layoff. But he says he needs to be active after this and that. I mean, I think obviously Barrios is limited. Probably Thurman made to look good, actually, to be honest with you. Sometimes he was happy to move away. Thurman, Barrios would maybe pump a jab or have a wee bit of success with the body, but wouldn't really kind of follow it up as much. So there is that. I think off the back of it, though, I want to see Thurman, if he's talking about titles and that, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. So hopefully maybe get in with a Kavaliauskas, maybe a Avanesian type of thing if he wants to think about staying busy. But in the end, I thought Barrett, as I say to you guys, Barrett ended up looking like Avatar at the end of that fight. He was badly swollen, nose was all badly kind of disfigured and that as well. So considering he's been at the ring now for the best part of 3 years and that was probably the perfect tune-up performance and opponent that he had there last night. So fair play to him. This is fight again maybe June, July time possibly, but then I'm thinking to myself, he's headlining a pay-per-view there last night, so I don't suspect we'll see him out anytime soon possibly. I think he'll be looking for a name. I was it Ugas and the Spence winner I think he's targeting as well, so we'll wait to see what comes with that one. But all in all, it was a good performance as such. But as I say, Barrios is a wee bit limited, but fair play to Thurman. They look good for the most part, especially early doors. And he really put it on Barrios. Thurman, I think he even wobbled Barrios with a left hook in the final minute, the 4th round, I think it was as well. I think Barrios kind of recovered quickly, so he has got that toughness about him, Barrios. Now, obviously, his face showed it as that as well. So, as I say, fair play to Thurman in that. But as I say, get active, hopefully.
Activity is the name of the game for Thurman. He's 33 now. He's not a young man. Him and Crawford are about in the same area. But Steve, I'll tell you, for me, something that I think made it so that Barrios could not win the fight was his corner. I've come to the conclusion that Virgil Hunter is incapable of creating a really solid seek and destroy game plan.
Possibly. Maybe Barrios needs to go to Adam Booth or a trainer of that ilk. One thing I do agree with you on is Thurman's activity levels. We need to see Thurman active now. Momentum, no more hiding away, no more breaks. 2 or 3 more fights, then sit back and relax. He can enjoy himself after he's retired. I moved the betting needle last week, Matty. I know you'll have a good bet by picking Barrios to win. I thought he barely won a round, let alone won the fight. Thurman, he was punch perfect. He could have capped it off with a stoppage, but all round, I thought he looked pretty good. And as for Barrios and Hunter must have known that he wasn't going to win that fight. The only opportunities Barrios seemed to get was when Thurman took his foot off the gas, started to pace himself a little bit. Thurman was just the better boxer, the bigger puncher, busting up Barrios' face badly. He started to resemble Paulie towards the end. I know Avatar's been going around on Twitter as well, but Barrios is tough as hell. We knew that after the Tank fight. Apart from a few body shots, he didn't have the punching power to compete. His jab, his body work were decent. Thurman might have felt a body shot here and there, but I never felt like he could turn the fight around with a shot, even in going into 9, 10, 11, 12. All he could do for me was last the distance. Thurman looked in great shape, and his body's been fragile in the past. It held out. He said he felt great coming in, but you can only tell a fighter's true fitness in the ring on the night. And I thought it was Thurman's trainer, Dan Birmingham, who we haven't seen around the scene for that often recently. He summed it up before the fight. He said Barrios' greatest attribute is his toughness, which is just code for he takes a good beating. And he definitely took a good beating last night because I thought he got the shit beaten out of him. Thurman looks good. Let's see him out again. No more breaks. Barrios, I would be a little bit concerned about him at a certain level because he might feel better moving up to 147, but he hasn't got the power to compete, even if he does have the size. And he hasn't maybe got the ring IQ to compete either. He will take a shellacking. But long term, someone's going to have a look and say, look, Barrios, you're at a certain level, and hopefully the PBC will look after him.
He might fit like a gatekeeper role pretty well. You know, I could see him playing the role of a Rosado. I think he has just enough to make that happen. And I think you've seen with the pairing of Rosado and Freddie Roach that the right trainer can definitely get the best out of these guys that are, you know, they're not going to be the man, but they should at least be the person you have to face to get to the man.
It'd be interesting to see what they do with him next, whether they think, right, we can build him back up a certain route and get him a title and do big things with him, or whether he's going to come in that Rosado role. You know which way Top Rank would go now. He would be the opponent. He would be fed to a few people and then maybe disappear off. It'll be interesting to see what the PBC do with him.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting that the PBC have been really smart with the way that they've used him. I mean, obviously they've utilized him as a credible opponent for their top guys. Because I mean, he ticks all these boxes. You know, I was selling him to beat Davis, and through 6 rounds, I didn't think I was that far off in that fight, but there's just something that's not quite there that separates him from the top guys in the pack.
One thing I'll add quickly, Matty, as well, just on Thurman. I love a good blast from the past, and I was listening to him during the week discussing his sparring as a youngster. Talked about Dan Birmingham earlier with Ronald Winky Wright, who was also trained by Birmingham in Florida, and he was going on about Winky's quality jab, just bang, bang, bang in the face, really accurate, hard jab, one of the finest southpaw jabs of recent years. So shout out to Ronald Winky Wright there, who was with Birmingham earlier, you know, throughout his career pretty much, and Thurman's now in that same camp.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I've always been high on Thurman's ceiling is because he was competing with really high level boxers from a very young age, and by all accounts, God, I'm trying to think, Andy, I think it was either Doug Fisher or John Scully that said that Thurman was like knocking out these pros when he was 15 years old. I mean, he was a bad fucker.
I kind of might have been Fisher, to be honest with you. I know he was big about the gym scenes and that, especially for upcoming prospects. It was him that kind of really covered Valero back in the day. But see, I'm not as invested in as Thurman as what you were, to be honest with you, because you touted him for like superstardom at one point.
He was just headlining a pay-per-view, and he only has one defeat to one of the 2 greatest fighters of the last 20 years. I don't think I was that far off. I was way further off with Matisse. I'll eat that crow all fucking day long. I'll give you that one. Definitely, yeah. I'll eat that crow all day long. But Thurman has been a good one. He's been winning fights in a very competitive era of welterweights, and coming to that, Oz, I got to tell you, I don't like the fight with Crawford at all because. Number one, they're 2 of my favorite fighters, and watching that fight, I don't even know how I'd be processing that because I don't know where to root. But I feel like Crawford's precision body punching would be death for Keith Thurman. But I think he has the speed for Errol Spence. I think that Errol Spence is someone that more so imposes his size than imposes his ability in a lot of ways, and I think ability to ability. I'm going to take Thurman.
I disagree on that one. I think Spence is a lot better than somebody who just uses his size. He's got a hell of a lot of talent. He hits hard. And I just think it'd be too much for Thurman's body. I mean, we saw last night Barrios is not a big hitter, but he hurt him to that body. And I think Thurman knows he can get hurt to the body now, and I think he'd be wary of it. But it's not saying it wouldn't be a competitive fight at all. I just think down the stretch, Spence will get him out of there. Likewise, I think Crawford would do the same. But that's not saying that's, Thurman wouldn't pose any problems, because he does have skills and assets that will cause these fighters problems as well. So I think, I'd be amazed if, if it, the Crawford fight happened next. That saying, Crawford is looking for an opponent, because Ugas and Spence are set to fight each other. So without that, Crawford is again just in that no man's land waiting. Who else is he going to box? I wouldn't begrudge seeing that Thurman fight next. I don't think it'd be disastrous. Well, it wouldn't be disastrous at all. Like I said, Thurman, is now deemed as active, and he immediately probably slots in, the top 5, 8, welterweights in the division. So I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. Do we see that next? Probably not. So I agree with what I think it was Andy said. Will we see him against someone like maybe Mean Machine or, dare I say, David Avanesian? Avanesian's looking for, for an opponent, because I don't think the Ortiz fight will go ahead, because he's going in a different direction as well, rather than with the WBC. But back to the original point, I do think Spence would beat him, but I think the fight would certainly be competitive early on.
Andy, what are your thoughts on that?
On what Spence against
Thurman and Crawford against Thurman. Where do you think? What fight do you think favors who the most?
I go to side with Crawford, obviously, in that. Spence, see, Spence, I'm still a wee bit on the fence with him, because obviously I really still kind of linger with thoughts with me about that car accident, if it's still going to haunt him at some point. But even then, even with Thurman's inactivity and that, I still believe Spence is going to have too much for him, to be honest with you. I agree with Ozzy was saying there. I think Thurman would probably make it competitive the early half of the fight, but then I could maybe see Spence, middle rounds start kind of like picking away, and then maybe just taking away with the lead that as the fight goes down the stretch, win on points. Crawford, probably points as well, to be honest with you. But we've seen as well, if he does get pressed, if he's in a situation where he thinks he's losing, he can go out there and just, seen it against Porter, he can go out there and stop the fight when he needs to do so. I could maybe see Crawford get a stoppage here as well.
I really sit with Crawford by stoppage in that one. I take Thurman by decision against Spence all day long. Steve, last word on those potential contests.
Come on, I'm an Errol Spence fan. There's no way Thurman's stopping him. Well, actually, it depends what version of Spence we see. I agree with Andy. I really don't know. He's come back. He's been injured again. We don't know what's happened with the car crash. If you're flying out the car 100 miles an hour, you're going to be in a bit of bother. Spence, I hope he's not done, but I am concerned about him. So I'm going to do a complete flip around on its head like AJ here and say, yes, there's a possibility he could get stopped by Thurman, considering the fact that he's still injured, if he is indeed injured. Boot Tennis is the one for me. He's the one to watch out for coming up. I think he's a massive prospect. Crawford, I'd love to see him fight Thurman. I'd be looking for him to stop Thurman as well. Lesser fighters than Crawford have hurt Thurman in the past. And after the layoff, if Bud's on form, that'd be a massive statement if he was to sign with the PBC and fight someone like Thurman and stop him impressively. But I'd love to see him fight Spence, Thurman, Ennis, anybody like that. As long as he's active, as long as he's fighting, no more pissing about. Thurman, Spence, Thurman, Crawford, Thurman, Ennis. Yep, make it happen.
He's talking about he's wanting, belt holders. So that's Spence, that's Crawford and that. But I think he knows himself with Crawford. In fact, he's targeting Spence Ugas as well, because it's easier fight to make as well. We just don't know what's Crawford's doing at the minute. I mean, here's Hearn coming out here saying, we would love to sign up Crawford, but he needs to be realistic about his financial demands. That would be the secondary question I'd be asking Eddie. The first question would be, what fighters you got for me?
He's just attaching himself to Crawford, isn't he? I think just to keep newsworthy. Not that he needs to do that, but that's all he's doing. I don't think there's any realistic chance of him signing Crawford. Like you said, what on earth would he sign with Hearn for?
I asked the question, and somebody came back to me and says, well, he's only got Conor Benn or Liam Smith. So, yeah, I think I like to see Crawford where we can, do it on his own and that, but I think at some point he's going to have to go across to PBC at some point, even if it's a fight-by-fight deal or whatever and that. But it's if we want to see these fights, I think he's going to have to step up there and just go for it.
I'd like to see basically anything except the Boots fight. I don't want to see Thurman fed to Boots because I think we kind of know where that's going to go. But
come on, man, let's see him dissected, Matty. Where's your enjoyment here? Get
on.
that referee who was refereeing Mitchell Skelly involved, and then we can all have a good night.
Oh, man. Speaking of a good night, the chat is rocking right now. Excuse me while we go through these names. Thanks for everyone in there, including Michael Thompson, Ryan Pettit, Ryan Ormerod, Johnny Clydesdale, Dong Nelson, Chris Burns, Ian Chalice, Dez, John Wool, Rob Barnett, Big A, Cedric Sniff, John Fagan, Leon the Canteen, Mark Boxeo, Josh Ford, M. Lithgow, Adam Hughes, Kaiser Koba, Irodon, Motor City Cobra, Mark Stanton, Ryan Chisholm, James Windsor, Highguard Plotter, JB, Bossman Steo, Liam Wynn, Joe Burns, Daniel Mannion, the Hardcore Casual, Richard Welton, JG, Celtic Spirit, excuse me. Sound totally yanked there, don't I? Danny Young, Sad Ken, Take Ames, Overlord, Stephen Hill, Chase Athletics, Liam Davis. If I missed anybody, I do apologize. It is rocking in the chat today. That's always good to see. That undercard was pretty entertaining to see as well. Steve, I got to tell you, Leo Santa Cruz has a bit more in the tank than I thought he would have at this point in his career, especially after that knockout. And it was interesting to watch him work over Carbajal, the son, or excuse me, the nephew or great nephew of Michael Carbajal, who so hates Carbajal, hates the I kind of losing his first name, Carbajal, that was in the ring last night's father,
Dylan.
that he wrote a press release talking about how he fucked family members out of money, and he wasn't even and he said that he wants Leo to kick his ass, and he wasn't even at that fight, but he was seen at the DAZN card. That is some serious family shade, Steve. I enjoyed every minute of it.
I'm glad to hear it, Matty, because time was the premium because I was working yesterday and today, so I had to decide what I was going to watch and what I wasn't going to watch. And I said, I feel bad for this, but I had to skip Santa Snooze. I said, I'm sorry, Leo. You've been a good servant. I've watched you twice in action, fight against Frampton. I've interviewed you many times. You're a nice guy, but I can't bear to watch you fight anymore, Santa Cruz. So he had to go, so I can make no comment on that other than that I just flicked through it. He had this big bleach blonde mop of hair flapping about all over the place. I said, no, I ain't watching that fight. I ain't watching Santa Cruz. But I did watch the other two. Jesus Ramos against Vladimir Hernandez.
Fun fight.
Thought Ramos looked really good. This was a good step up for him. He caught him with the left hand, piled on the hurt. Good stoppage from the referee. A couple of things came to my mind. First of all, Ramos is a lightweight. Lightweight scene's buzzing. Where does he fit into that lightweight scene? I think he's 18-0 with 15 knockouts, so he can clearly punch. Showed against Molina in his last fight as well. He's a good fighter. Looking forward to seeing how he progresses. And that's a statement stoppage for me because Vladimir Hernandez, he's a tough nut.
No, that was at 154 pounds.
Oh, is it? Oh, right.
Yeah, Hernandez has fought as high as 175, and he looked like he could. No, you're talking about the right one. There was the Jesus Ramos and the Vladimir Hernandez. Yeah, that was 154.
Bloody hell, there you go. Well, Hernandez does look a bit stocky for the weight, but I didn't realise it was as high as that. But it's a statement win, even more so then against a bigger guy like him, because he's a tough nut. He's got good wins on his record. And what does it say about Julian Williams? His prospects going forwards, of course. Williams is up there as well. He got beaten by Hernandez. Ramos has absolutely tanked Hernandez, so I'm looking forward to see how he progresses. The other fight on the card was Luis Neri. I did see that one as well. I thought he kept his right hand too low. And Neri's team obviously spotted that because he kept on throwing it over the top. Castro, when he threw the right hand, he was bringing his whole body across. So Neri was like, well, thanks very much. I'll just throw my left hand straight into that space. Again, 27-0, same as last week with Xavier Martinez. This time with Castro, you got these guys with long unbeaten records, switching gyms, switching trainers, switching promotional companies. They step up and it's just not there. A 10-rounder. Castro's 27-0. He fought Escandon before, didn't have it all his own way against him as well. These guys have got to get tested. And I thought he got
that was close on the cards, though.
I thought it was. I thought it was closer on the cards than PBC had. I was watching the Fight TV one, but they were talking about Larry Hazard's scorecards, and he seemed to have it quite wide.
The scores on that ended up you ended up with Neri won at 96-93.
Mhm.
I think Castro took one 95-94 himself there.
Yeah, and then Neri took the other one. I think it was
Yeah.
96-94. I thought it was closer than Larry Hazard had it, but Castro, just for an unbeaten guy. I mean, there are different ways of fighting Neri. We saw Brandon Figueroa. He smothered him, used the strength, the intensity, and just broke him down to the body. And then there was Aaron Alameda, the southpaw, if you remember him, fought Angelo Leo last time. He had success countering Neri. Either way, I think you've got to attack his body, deplete his engine, and Neri has the power. And Castro had pockets of success, and I thought it was a lot closer than Hazard thought. But Castro's got to be trying to get over the line against someone like Neri if he's going to go forward. But it was a good win for Neri.
Get over Neri doing that cutesy shit. That was way.
I like the hands down, sort of almost like a Philly shell type thing.
He was rolling punches. He was getting underneath them. He wasn't throwing as wide as he usually does. I mean, that knockdown he had in the first. I mean, that was straight as a die. Neri was throwing some cute shit in there, and it really pissed me off because Castro was who I needed to complete my round robin. That son of a fucking bitch.
Well, I don't know about that, but they've tightened him up a little bit. But I think that the best version of Neri is the aggressive version. The Reynosos, when they took him and tried to get him to box, I don't think it suited him. I think the aggressive on top version is the best version, using his power, using his aggression, using the PEDs, skipping the weights. The magnificent bastard Neri is the version we need to see going forward.
Andy, what were your thoughts on this fight? Because I know you hate Neri probably more than I do. Well, maybe not after he cost me money, but the hatred is real.
Yeah, I was saying, obviously it's stems for the drug situation or whatever. A couple of times there was word going about. I think it was Keith Idek had said that he was struggling with the weight as well for this fight. So maybe he's not on the juice, maybe he is on the bread and water, who knows? But yeah, it was a weird one actually because he kind of like tends to kind of fight better when he's a bit more aggressive. I thought he was kind of like sitting on the back foot a fair bit, allowing Castro to be the aggressor and let him kind of come to him. He was happy to kind of like sit back, counter punch, and just basically he was in control. And it wasn't, I suppose, a great win in terms of what he's going to do for the division or whatever and that, but I kind of think he's kind of snookered between the weight and that as well because he's kind of like high up with the 122s. He should be really about at 118, preferably, to be honest with you. But it was one of the performances for me. Actually, I had it on 2-speed, but it was kind of. I thought it was kind of shit, to be honest with you. Even though he was kind of like elusive for like Castro to try and catch him in that, it did nothing really for me.
It was the least entertaining fight of the card for sure.
I picked the wrong fight in Undercard to watch, to be honest with you, because I'm sitting here watching it. I was like, nah, this isn't great at all. Stuck out to the bitter end, I must admit. But a couple of good moments where Neri's landing some flush uppercuts, but Castro just couldn't get to him or put anything seriously on him. As Steve says, Figueroa beat the absolute shit out of him. That's kind of more kind of the blueprint how to fight that guy. And if he's going to go about trying to protect his body with his hands down like that, then you've got to try and aim for the head and that. But you just couldn't get anywhere near him. But yeah, as I say, I dare say he'll be high up with WBC. He's got favourites there. I'm sure he's having to go through random drug testing as well. I'm sure still at this point. So we'll wait to see who he rocks up against now. But at this point, Stephen Fulton would actually have his way with me, honest with you.
That was a WBC and WBO eliminator there. So he could wind up. Does Fulton hold both those belts?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So they're trying to set that up. They need an opponent for Fulton.
Could do worse than him. If he's not going to fight Akhmadaliev in the unification, he could fight Figueroa in a rematch. He could fight Neri.
It's better than a Ronnie Rios or a Thomas Patrick Ward or anything.
You don't want to fight.
Don't fight Mark Mills, throwing us a 5 spot in there. Mark, much appreciated on that. And I'll tell you what, I know you guys didn't get to catch everything on that card, but the non-pay-per-view portion on Fox was really entertaining as well. Before that, I had a good 140-pound fight with Omar Juarez, getting a split decision over Ryan Carl. And Juarez was dominating early. Carl had a nasty cut, and he came back. He started throwing a lot of lead rights and gave Juarez fits. It was a fight that I think could have gone either direction. There was a point deduction in the 7th, so that because Juarez was using his forearms a little too heavy. That was a really decent fight there.
Matty,
And,
can I just say something quickly on that? I didn't
Sure.
actually see that. I didn't see that fight, but I think that was a sort of make or break for Juarez against Cowboy Carl, who's no mug. Because a couple of fights ago, didn't he lost to that Al Rivera, that Filipino guy, and he hasn't looked great, Juarez. So he could have been on Skid Row, as Porky says, if he hadn't won this. So he really needed that win.
He did, and Ryan Carl is proving to be a good opponent. He gives you an honest, nice work for sure. First time I saw him, I saw he had a ceiling, but he gives it a rip. The tough thing for him is he does cut easily, and he's got that really pasty skin, so everything shows pretty bad. Also on that, an upset at welterweight with Luke Santamaria coming in on late notice to take on Abel Ramos and taking a UD against him. I scored it a draw personally. But Santamaria took it 96-94 on 2 cards. Really wrong 98-92 on another one. And Santamaria was hurt early. I thought that Ramos bossed the first few rounds. Really, I had him up 4-1 or 3-1 through 4. And then Santamaria just came on really strong. I thought Ramos picked out the 8th and the 10th, but it was a really shocking fight as far as considering where folks thought Abel Ramos was going based on recent performances. And Luke Santamaria, after that kind of surprising win over Devin Alexander, proven, man, for a guy that had a 12-2 record, this kid is something else. And this was a WBC eliminator, so he's moving up in that one himself at 147, so he could find himself in a very interesting spot. And let's see here. Over on DAZN, Andy, I'll tell you what, I actually think despite everything that happened this week that was pretty interesting in boxing, I think the fact that one of your hot prospects, Jesse Rodriguez, on less than a week's notice, jumped up 2 weight classes to take a decision over Carlos Cuadras, including dropping him with an exceptional uppercut. Cuadras had his moments, but I think you're right, man. This kid is the truth.
Yeah, he's really looking good, mate. I mentioned it this morning. Someone actually hit me up with an old tweet of mine from about 2 years ago, and I stated then that I think between light flyweight and flyweight, this kid would be quite dominant. I wasn't expecting to fast forward 2 years so quick, to be honest with you, and he got up 2 weight divisions to go and prove it. But he was absolutely exceptional there last night, absolutely tremendous. You know, he's been with Robert Garcia now for, I think since he came out the amateurs, probably about 17. I'm sure. I think he's 22, 23. But what a performance! Just the variety, the willing to kind of stand in the pocket, just a wee bit fraction too long, I thought, but just to kind of punch the right uppercut as well for the drop. Cuadras was beautiful. The way he pivoted, with the right uppercut underneath, it was just a beautiful shot. Mixed it up, varied it, worked the body. Fair play to Cuadras and that as well, who, to be honest with you, he's been over the course. We all know this and he tried to keep fighting, tried to keep coming back, pure badass. And he had a few moments in that where he kind of tagged Rodriguez to the body. I remember a couple of times, especially early half of the fight, he caught Rodriguez with a couple of right hands and that. And Rodriguez took him pretty well. So that kind of probably suggests that he's got a decent chin, the kid, to be honest with you. Because, even at this point, Cuadras, even though he might be past his best, he's still a tough night's work for anybody kind of top end of that division. And I think he could potentially go to 118. I think with him being a Tekken fighter and that, he's probably a chance for him to fight some Japanese guys over there, get a couple of paydays, guys like Higa, for example. But it's all about Rodriguez at this point for me. To be honest, when I was looking at it last night, you could see the physical difference in that as well. He's no fully a 115-pound fighter yet. I think that'll come in a couple of years. He spoke about he's going to remain in the weight, obviously, because he's got a belt now and that. But he says if the right opportunity comes, he will go back down to 112, maybe even 108. He's got it all. I think obviously the wee bit he's got to kind of maybe tidy up as the defence. I think he holds his feet a wee bit too long, and he stands with his hands up, so it allows maybe the opponent to get a shot off. But remember, that's the first time he's went 12 rounds as a professional.
Yeah, they said he'd only got 8 was his long.
8 rounds, aye. And to be honest, see, when I was looking at his fight against Saul Juarez, that was his step up at that point. Because Juarez had been over the course by a few people, and he went through him like he was he was a novice. And that last night, I was like, wow, that was exceptional, to be honest with you. So just to have him come up for, like, as I says, I thought he was going to campaign at 108, but to take a chance like that and to come out and perform like that in the manner of what he did, makes me sound like a wee bit of profit. So I'm quite happy, to be honest with you. So it says that I've been championing this kid now for the best part of 18 months, 2 years. And I'm happy that he stepped up there and done the business. And Eddie's got himself a potential wee superstar in his hands. If he markets him right, gets him a few opportunities at maybe 112 to unify in that as well. We'll wait and see. But if he's going to stay at 115, I would love to see, and it's maybe a fraction too early, or it's too early for the kid possibly, but the winner against Gonzalez against Martinez would be ideal.
I'll tell you what else was ideal. Look at that Declan Graffin throwing in 50 pounds. Says probably do something after 10 plus years of free content. Hey, we appreciate that. $5 a year, that's not a bad subscription. We'll take that.
He's in the Patreon as well, man.
Is he? Well, then, hey, you're all on top of it, my friend. Thank you for so much for your continued support. You guys make this all happen. All this definitely keeps the nuts and bolts up and going. And we appreciate that very much.
Good lad, Declan. Good lad.
Yeah. Yeah, all of the people that listen to us are good people, Steve. We clearly offer an exceptional moral environment that's not only good for the men that love boxing, but for women and children too, in my opinion.
No, we allow people to realize it's okay to be immoral. I think we endorse their immorality, Matty. I think that's maybe what it is.
Jesus loved everyone, and he even walked with the whores. You got to remember that. Yeah, and we walk with whores too. Maybe I do. You guys are all like decent and married, aren't you? You poor bastards. Well, anyways, I'll walk with extra whores on your account.
If you're married though, as long as you can manage to corrupt them, then you should be all right.
Yeah, there you go. And we'll have to talk. I wish to know more and subscribe to your newsletter.
A bit of debauch doesn't go amiss,
Never. So that was I'll back onto that the Rodriguez Cuadras fight there. Steve, I forgot. Did you say if you caught that one or not?
Yeah, I haven't got much to add beyond what Andy said there. Rodriguez, he looked a lot smaller. Said he was going to go back down in weight once he won the title. Good attitude, refreshing. We thought that as all the pullouts were happening, that we might end up with a bit of a bum card. The undercard wasn't that good, but the main event was class. Cuadras was a lot bigger, hitting to the body hard, strong. He's had his issues in the past. Nice spotty back, and Rodriguez just stood in there, fought with him, had a cut. Nice body shots, and I thought the uppercut that he landed on the turn, bang, knocked Cuadras down, and yeah, against a much more experienced operator. They said he's the youngest world champion in the whole of boxing now. Andy's been championing him. To be fair, I haven't seen him in action before, even though Andy's been saying for a long time to keep an eye on him. So all props to him. He's absolutely, he looks class. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of Rodriguez at 108 or whatever weight class he chooses to campaign at in the future.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what else I'm willing to see a little bit more of, Steve, is Jamie Mitchell. Limited opponent in Carly Skelly, but once again, this chick gets a stoppage, and she is a real puncher. Working with quality trainers, she's I'm excited to see her in some potentially top level women's fights. This gal could end up being a name in the world of women's boxing. That was she landed some vicious shots.
Yeah, she's vicious. I was trying to think where I'd seen her before, and I thought, was she the one who beat Terry Harper, or was she the one who beat Shannon Courtney? I think it was Shannon Courtney. I was trying to remember. But yeah, she's vicious. She has a punch, which is sometimes lacking in women's boxing. Her opponent, me and Ozzy, were having the discussion really last week as well, and we both came to the same conclusion that, to be fair to Carly Skelly, then she shouldn't have been in the ring for anything. Any reasonable sanctioning body, credible sanctioning body, shouldn't have been sanctioning her for a world title. I thought because of the women's pool of fighting, it's maybe it's okay because it's a lesser level, but she shouldn't have been in there. She was getting knocked from pillar to post, absolutely battered, and the referee was a little bit slow coming in at the end. She had no power. She took her opportunity. Don't blame her for going over there and having a go. But this was the co-main on DAZN, And people say, oh, you shouldn't be slagging off this, that, and the other. This shouldn't be a co-main. They should have had something a bit better than this in advance. But Mitchell did her job. It was nothing to do with her.
They were going against the Thurman pay-per-view.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
how
I
much
know.
weight are you going to throw in that?
I agree, but it had to be a little bit better than this. I mean, more the opponent than anything else. The corner knew she was out of her depth. As I say, you can't blame her for taking the opportunity, but she got destroyed. The referee jumped in eventually and saved her, but you got to have a higher standard than this for something purporting to be a world title. So that's all I can really say about that.
Yeah, the world title aspect is ridiculous, right? It's kind of like the minimum weight class for men, though. There's just such slim competition. You see some of the people that get title shots, and you're looking like, well, that happened. But amidst that, you also have your Kazuto Iokas who get title shots early, right? And Inoue's and people like that.
Minimum wage? I thought you said minimum wage. That's probably be more appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, after travel and paying your trainers, ish. It just depends on what country you're saying it's minimum wage for. So, anyways, I know Oz is looking to get back into the conversation. So, Oz, Chris Eubank Jr. with a unanimous decision over Liam Williams. 4 knockdowns recorded. 3 of them should have counted. Jabs of all accounting for half of those counted knockdowns. But Williams refusing to go away, fighting hard in the middle rounds. Arguably, the scorecards might have been a little bit wider than they should have been, but Eubank Jr. doing his best Roy Jones Jr., which is good enough to beat Liam Williams, but probably not enough to compete at 160 with the top.
No, it was a really bizarre fight, more so on the perspective of Liam Williams, who in the past 2 fights now, he's been dropped really early. The Andrade fight was a lot heavier shot, but this Eubank one, he was just dropping him with jabs. It was odd. It was like, had his punch resistance gone. But then in the second half of the fight, he was taking bigger shots and they weren't really wobbling him at all. So I don't know if it's a case of is he not warming up properly. I did wonder, has he just botched the weight, and he's just taken too much weight off. I thought Eubank early on looked good, to be honest. You could see he'd been working on things, but then I just thought as the fight went on, he reverted to type. And it would have been a bigger statement had he have got Williams out of there. And I think he could have done that. He claims he chose not to. He wanted to give him a beating, but I just think, he just started to look for single shots, and it just wasn't working really. So I thought, well, it didn't really. I just feel like he could have, maybe stepped on the gas the second half of the fight. That allowed Williams to win some rounds himself. But overall, it was a solid performance. I think we all said last week that Eubank is caught in 2 styles, and I do think we saw that in this fight again. We saw him, do some bits what he used to be really good at, and more so where he tried to box. I thought at the end in the last couple of rounds where he was, doing all like the shimmying around and foot movement and things like that was unnecessary. I thought Williams was there for the taking, and he just chose not to. But it's a good win. Does it mean that he can compete at the top level of 160? No. I think, we've seen what you can do to beat Chris Eubank Jr. But 160 is not deep at all, is it? There is no depth there whatsoever. He claims he wants title fights next. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Who are they going to look for? I mean, I think Erislandy Lara will cause Eubank all sorts of problems. I don't see him fighting, Jamal Charlo. Is he going to come in against a Dervyachenko? No. We can rule out Golovkin without a doubt. He had the opportunity and bottled it. So I haven't got a clue what they're going to do with him next at all. I don't know. But he's not got time to be fucking around, with B and C level opponents now, Eubank Jr. He needs to go in at the deep end. I mean, like I said, there's just no depth. What wouldn't shock me, and it's one of Andy's favourite fighters. He's a German guy, 33-3. Vinny Feigenbutts.
It's a Eubank move, mate, as well. That's the type of fighter Eubank would go for.
Exactly. Big record. They'll get some sort of WBA bauble belt on the line. Sauerland are involved with Eubank anyway. And who is Vinny the Doorman involved with? Sauerland. So it'd be a good opportunity to get him a big payday, and it'd be someone like that. We've tried for the champions, but we're going to get, Vinny Feigenbutts over. He's coming off, a big KO win over Nuhu Lawal. It's a typical Eubank opponent. But as for Liam Williams, he's in a precarious situation now. It's kind of a common thing what I say on this podcast, that just because you get beat doesn't mean that your career is over. But I do wonder what the Andrade fight took out of Williams, because what he can't be doing is going now into every fight. And he lost the fight before it even started. And he was dropped 3 times in the first 4 rounds of jabs. You can't have that going forward. I think he's too small to go up to 168. So it's going to be interesting. I think he needs probably a good breakaway, because one thing I do credit him for is he didn't go away and have a couple of warm-up fights. He went from the Andrade fight straight into the Eubank fight. But this is where he probably does need to go away, have a lengthy rest, decide what he wants to do. And ultimately, he probably does need to drop back down to domestic level. There is fights available for him. He's still a player at domestic level. I mean, we've seen what he's done already at 160 at British level. I always feel he's not had that proper step up to European level, probably. And I still think he could win a European title as well. It just seems a long way away yet. So he needs to go and have a think. And as I've said about Eubank, then he needs to, they need to get him moving now. They need to get him active. Get him another fight scheduled, ideally for June, something like that. And let's see.
I think basically Eubank is European level. I think he's, would be top tier of European level. I don't think he's championship caliber fighter. I don't see it. Andy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
It was a strange one, mate. To be honest with you, that first knockdown, I actually thought it was a hook because it was so quick and so sharp. I actually missed it in real time. And then when it came back, it looked like it was a jab. It looked like, I don't know if he caught. I don't know if he stepped inside Eubank through the jab, and it just kind of caught Williams as he's kind of like squared up a wee bit, but he just didn't seem to hold a punch. I listened back to what we were saying last week, actually, because it was interesting pretty much how this fight went. Apart from obviously the early knockdowns, we pretty much called how this fight was going to go, because we didn't know how Eubank was going to turn up, how he was going to approach it. He's talking about how he carried Williams, 12 rounds because he wanted to beat him up and then, basically humble him or whatever you want to call it. But he had moments, he was beating the shit out of him early doors, and he decided to take a foot off the gas. Williams is allowed to come back into the fight. Whether he won rounds or whatever, that's up for debate. But if you allow a fighter to get back in and he's aggressive and you're not doing nothing as much, you're still windmilling a couple of shots, and they might start favouring Williams, towards winning some rounds. But I just thought he could have stepped up a wee bit actually and just ended it. But I don't know, mate. I agree with what you're saying as well. He's no absolute elite world class level. He has got his area in that, but it's if he's targeting like a Golovkin, it's purely because he's over the hill or whatever in age. The names that he's got on his record are faded vets, especially some of the wins at least, and that like Abraham and DeGale. But this Liam Williams fight should have happened years ago. This would be an ideal fight for a European or a British title, like 2, 3, 4 years ago. Instead of that, Williams had come up short, which was a gutty effort against Andrade. He gutted it out there again last night, but it just shows that he has got his level on that as well. He's slightly above European Liam Williams, but just kind of get his leg over at world. Eubank probably slightly above fringe world level on that, but he's just not good enough to kind of tangle with like a Canelo or a Golovkin, guys of that ilk. Of interest, because I've noticed, is it next week Saunders against Jacobs? Saunders Jacobs against Ryder. Sorry, I'd like to see him fight the winner of that fight, possibly in that. But with the belts as a situation as it is,
Andy, that's at 168 though. Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, he's at 160. So I don't see, him going up. But I think that £8 as well. He's not a massive hitter at 160, even less so at 168. I had a look at the rankings. Then there's barely anybody, and that's why I say about Feigenbutz, it reeks of a typical, Eubank opponent, big padded record, garbage. He has a good chin, but Feigenbutz can't really punch.
What weight
And
there
it's,
was? Is that super middle?
160.
No, that's 160.
Oh, is it? All right, okay.
Real quick, Chris Burns
Yeah,
throwing
yeah.
in 179. But I throw that out there because I want to also get this comment out there. Chris says Williams can come again. Jade can't. I still think he says anyway.
Just
hold
the
on,
right
hold
side,
on.
Matty.
Albert Ross says, this is gross. Sergio Martinez versus Eubank Jr. next. Hopefully get another world champion on the resume.
I wouldn't be surprised,
I saw it and I'm like,
no way.
Ben Shalom came out and stated that he's interested. Saunders coming back, having one more fight, and he mentioned the Eubank one.
Right, so see, I tell you what, I mean, I think Saunders would be suited at 160 anyway. I've always said that. But if that is probably a fight that can, get the juices flowing for Billy Joe Saunders again. So I think, but I think I've not seen anything in Eubank, the new Eubank, for him to say that he'll go and beat Billy Joe Saunders, because let's have it right again. We revert back to that Canelo fight. Saunders was, competitive in that. And, the levels between Canelo and Eubank Jr., unthinkable. So I think that's a bad fight for Eubank, actually. But it will pay well. Sky probably put it on pay-per-view. So I think, that is realistic. Because, I mean, like I said, you look at the rankings. I mean, I'm just on BoxRec here, so we all know, it doesn't count for much. But the top 10 is Eubank Jr. is ranked 1, Lara's 2, Jamal Charlo 3, Andrade 4, Munguia is 5, Carlos Adames 6, Dervyachenko is 7, Liam Williams is still at 8. Is it Zanibek, Alan Khan? Is it? Yeah, is at 9. And Michael fucking Zarafa is 10. Michael Zarafa. So it's like, there is just no depth. There is no depth to the. I say no depth. There's barely any quality in it. You've got Selecki at 11, Vinny the Doorman at 12, Kanat Islam 13. Fucking Sam Eggington's top 16. So it's like, my God.
See that Magomed, is it Madiev? I think he's no fighting on the Sky card next week.
Yeah, he's fighting Felix Cash.
Felix Cash.
Yeah.
Steve might remember this name, actually. I think he's a Uruguayan. Amilcar Vidal. Big fucking dude for the weight.
Oh, he fought at Ali.
Yeah, he's got quite a good heavy output. Decent hitter.
He's a bit slow, but he can hit hard, yeah.
But I think it would be an ideal fight for Eubank at this rate. But guys are ranked. I've just pulled up his rankings, and that's what it's shit, man. You got Dennis Radovan with IBF ranked 5th. I mean, that's just garbage, complete garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Islam, I've not even heard of Islam. I've not seen one of these fights now for a good while.
Kanat Islam.
Yeah, Islam.
Yeah, he's gone off the radar completely, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Who is Eubank ranked highly with?
WBA.
IBO.
Idiots.
So
because if Madiev or Cash wins next week, that could be Eubank's next opponent. Madiev or Cash.
I don't see that. I don't see Cash going over to Sky to box Eubank Jr. personally. I don't see that. Who is Vinny ranked in the WBA or not?
No, he's IBF.
Oh, IBF. Right, okay, right. I was going to say because process of elimination, we know what they're like, and they'll do that, and Feigenbutz will be fairly cheap compared to somebody else. But yeah, there's just no quality whatsoever unless they pull somebody up from 154 or drag somebody down from 168.
I've just noticed.
It's pretty dire.
Tarano Johnson, Sam Eggington, and Hugo Centeno Jr. are actually ranked in the top 15 of the WBC.
It's like going back 7 years in time,
what? Jesus. And you've got that Juan Macias Montiel. Who did he fight again? He fought a Brit.
Charlo, wasn't he?
Was it Charlo? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went the distance with Charlo, didn't he?
That's who was.
Yeah,
it wasn't a Brit, aye. And you obviously got Sergio Martinez. He's still cropping up in the top,
Yeah.
the top 4, top 5 as well. You know, so
Well, considering the competition.
Well, I was actually going to say, I actually thought Eggington would be a good fight for Liam Williams. Actually, coming, if Williams was to come back, I actually think that'd be quite. I think he'd destroy Eggington. Actually, that'd just be carnage. But I thought that'd be lined up for something. But I mean, Eggington's with Fat Mick. There's no way Mick's going to let him jump over to Sky because Mick, he's one of about 6 fighters that he's signed with Hennessy. It's just. Do you know, I'd go as far as saying that middleweight is probably the worst division in boxing. Just looking at what we've gone through, there is no real quality. There's not much that's coming through either. In terms of you compare it to some of the other divisions. Yeah, there's just nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Do you think Williams would destroy Eggington, Ozzy?
Yeah, because Eggington was just he was a big 147. The only reason he's gone up to 160 is because he got an opportunity, and he had that war with that Bilal Jikitu, wasn't it? Fight of the year actually, and then he went the distance with Carlos Molina. I just don't think he carries the power, or he's got the physical attributes at 160. Personally, anyway.
You can 100% see that the Roy Jones factor in Chris Eubank Jr.'s workload in it. Even though if it's Poundland, All Day, whatever you want to call it, you can certainly see it is rubbing off on him a wee bit. But
right, that's fine though. Like if he wants it to rub off him, yeah,
he's athletic in that. But that's all he's got. He's no. Roy was a once in a generational specimen. That one, and you can't replicate that.
Not just that though, Andy. But say if like Roy Jones Jr. was in with somebody like Liam Williams last night, Jones Jr. would have absolutely blitzed him out of there. He wouldn't have carried him for 12 rounds to punish him. He would have banged him out badly and say, "That's your fucking punishment. Keep your mouth shut." He wouldn't have coasted for 12 rounds, would he? So I mean, I think like they've got to get this happy medium of it. It's okay, like honing some skills and working on certain like technical aspects. But Eubank's biggest, threats and positives were he was quick, he was explosive, and he unloaded a load of shots, and that seemingly deteriorated.
Just one thing, Matt, before we kind of shit on the rest of the card and Sky in general for this bullshit last night.
And Steve hasn't even said anything about it.
Yeah, I know, but I actually forgot what I was going to say now. Actually, you might want to bring Steve in. Well, that's what it was. Actually, Liam Williams got told last night before the fight that he was going to get summoned to a board meeting. Funny enough, I seen Chris Eubank's post-fight interview where he's actually saying is I wanted to destroy him or beat him up and that type of thing. And at the same time, Robert Smith actually leans in and congratulates him on his win. So maybe Eubank might get a letter to the board meeting as well shortly, Sorry, Steve, when you go, mate.
No, you're okay.
Real quick, no context. Yeah. Katie Taylor tossing in 2 pounds there. Says, for the content, little fingers together, the mwah, like the Dagos like me do. And he says, P.S. Eubank equals, I think, Poundland RJJ. Is there some sort of...
Poundland Roy Jones Jr.?
Yeah, is there some sort of a colloquialism I'm missing there, Steve?
No, not really. I know you Americans like a good pounding, but this is just a Poundland. Everything's supposed to be a pound, although they're sneaky now, Matty. You can get things for $5 and that. But actually, before I make my comments, I was going to ask you one thing quickly, Matty. If Eubank last night was Roy Jones Jr., which opponent was Liam Williams? I was thinking maybe a Bryant Brannan or a Tony Thornton or a Richard Hall, Glenn Kelly, that kind of ilk.
Who went the distance with Roy? He dropped a bunch of times and didn't finish him.
That's the thing. Roy would have finished that off.
Yeah, no, there is no version of that because Roy had testicles. So,
well, what I'm going to say a couple of things. First of all, fuck the Sky cameras, man. Those stupid drone things need to go. I want to see the knockdowns. I want to see the action. Not feel like I'm having my head rocked about like I'm punch drunk. I didn't even see the first knockdown. Might have been my fault. I think the camera wasn't even on it. Also, that MC needs to pick an accent and stick with it. They need to bin him off. He's absolute crap. But anyway, as for the fight, I think, as the boys have said, Liam Williams is tough. His early punch resistance is a little bit suspect, which is possibly a weight issue or something. Maybe he's tight at the weight, like Enzo said. But he warmed into the punches, as Ozzy says there. Realistically, Williams, I think he's a British level fighter. He can compete above that level because of his toughness and his grit and his will to win. And it turned out he was in good shape, but I don't think he's got enough to win above British title level, but he has enough to survive above British title level. And despite the fact that he got knocked down 4 times, he seemed like he was on the verge of being stopped at any point. Eubank still was a little bit underwhelming for me. And I'm still not sure how good he actually is. He always manages to win at a certain level, and then he's come up short a couple of times at the next level. He's more comfortable down at middleweight. I wouldn't mind him seeing him fight Demetrius Andrade. Obviously, Andrade's moving up in weight now. If Eubank's IBO belt counts, then that'd be the first world champion Demetrius Andrade's ever fought. Andrade's never fought a world champion in his whole career. But seriously, it threatened to be a statement performance, like I was saying. If he'd have banged out Williams after 4 rounds, big statement. And I agree with Horsecock last night on the mic. I don't think he carried Williams, like he said. It shouldn't have been last in the distance. He should have got him out of there. Maybe he was worried about his stamina or something. I don't know. But I would like to see Eubank in another big fight now. Let's see where he's at. See if this hybrid Roy Jones style truly does transfer to the next level. Let's see what level he's at, what his true caliber is. No more messing around. Every time he's threatened to step up, Korobov wasn't his fault. He ended up getting injured. That would have been a nice fight to see exactly where he's at. DeGale was past it. Abraham was past it. Groves beat him. Saunders beat him. We haven't had that definitive fight against a fighter around his level who's also fit and firing and on form to say, Eubank, that's a good win for him. I really just want to know what his level is, Mate.
It's a great question. I think we've been wondering what that level is for years. Ricky Gravel at his normal level, man. This guy every week, 449 in there. Says, hello, lads. Hey, Ricky. Good to see you. We really appreciate it, man. You are as loyal as they come, man. It's wonderful to have you here today. Oz, Clarissa Shields with a 10-round boring unanimous decision over Ema Kozin. You have at it, sir.
Good Oz.
Yeah, she's just a complete bullshitter, isn't she? Some of the stuff she comes out with after it, like she claims she's knocking out like men in the gyms. I mean, what weight are these men? They must be like flies or something like that, because she doesn't look even coming close to stopping somebody the same weight as her in a ring. Don't get me wrong, she's extremely talented and she'll be very difficult to beat because she's non-stop. But fuck me, she's boring. She is horrendous to watch. And, I think it said it all last night. They were clearly in favour of Savannah Marshall at ringside, but, Savannah Marshall gestured, like she was falling asleep. And you can see why. You really can. I mean, it's just hard to say. She's talented. I think Sky trying to talk up the potential pay-per-view between Marshall and Shields is just a disaster. That will not sell at all. I mean, who's going to pay cash to watch that? Because it's just not, they might have some animosity between them, but realistically, you're going to pay for it? No. Particularly not to see that hairline either, which I still can't get over it. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. She was posing at the end.
Huh? You had to go there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping she's putting that purse to potentially a hair transplant or something like that. I mean, Eddie Hearn, he's involved in that game, so he needs to get on to pass some contact details onto the bloke.
Keith should have given his cornrows he cut off to Clarissa. And
absolutely,
I think they missed the chance there. They could have worked together on something.
Absolutely, because I mean, fuck me, that what's it called? That hairline is just non-existent. Like her punch power, really non-existent. It's just an absolute shambles. But she is talented. Look, and it's easy to come out and say last night, was it substandard? No, it was just a typical Clarissa Shields performance. She won every round, was never really in any problems. Did look to fatigue a little bit, but at the end of the day, that is what she is. But what I won't have is the way people think Savannah I don't see Marshall just coming out there and banging her out whenever she wants to. She's better than that, Shield. She's a lot better than that. You don't achieve what she has done in the ring by accident just to go and get chinned off, the first. Not saying live opponent, but I really rate Marshall. And I do think Marshall will beat her, actually. But I don't think it'll be easy at all. So, yeah, it's one of them. I assume she's going to be back in March, actually, for when Marshall defends think she's headlining the show in Newcastle in March against her mandatory. But after that, do we? I will watch the fight between Marshall and Shields, by the way, because I think it's an excellent fight. It's the best fight that can happen for her. But yeah, she's not entertaining to watch, and she can come out and and say, oh, she's got all this power. Well, start showing it then. Start showing it. And I think it basically backs the argument off of I don't understand why we don't see 3-minute rounds in women's boxing. It just makes it better. I think you'd have. There's very, very few big punchers. I mean, you had that Jamie Mitchell last night who obliterated Carly Skelly, but that was more on levels more than anything. Mitchell can clearly punch.
That could have been
Carly
10,
Skelly,
30-second rounds, and the end would have been the same.
Exactly. Yeah, completely agree. And the referee was a joke, by the way. I mean, Skelly ended up probably taking an extra 8 or 9 punches unnecessarily. On that, but whereas I think 3-minute rounds we probably see more, and I think someone like Shields does need that because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're boring to watch, people don't care. They're not like it's easy. Some people say, oh yeah, look at like you'll watch like a light flyweight or a flyweight, but you'll still see knockouts at those weights. Watching Shields, there's just nothing there at all, and she's talented, yeah. But in terms of, will people be rushing into, from a night out to watch her? Absolutely not. Unless they want to mock the hairline. That's the only reason they'll be watching.
that is something to see, isn't it? Andy, was there anything else on this card, on the undercard, that's worth talking about in your opinion?
I just thought the kind of way they kind of put the card together was a bit kind of weird because they had that Samuel Antwi against Conor Walker. I think it was on the YouTube portion of the card, and they had that fucking awful Ivan Drago wannabe cut out fucking first person on the TV segment. Surely the 2 fights should have been swapped around a bit, I thought, because the card started way early for me. Obviously, I mean, I'm got dinner, the kids, and that at 6 o'clock. Fucking the Antwi fights, when that was one of the fights I actually wanted to sit and watch. So I was kind of like left to try and pick up bits in between bits and bobs and what I was doing. Otto Wallen fight was pretty awful, to be honest with you as well. I can't remember if I caught anything else. Clarissa Shields, I kind of like sat and watched 3 rounds of that. That was enough. I think the bit of verbals we had afterwards was more entertaining than that fight, to be honest with you. I think that was it, really. I didn't catch Ndongo.
Jenkins and Ndongo. It wasn't a bad 8-rounder, that, actually. I mean, you do wonder, like, why Ndongo is still boxing, because you would have thought somebody, like, for the fights he's had, would have made some decent cash, and he's not rocking up, to Cardiff, having an 8-rounder against Chris Jenkins. I mean, you do wonder why he's still boxing. I thought it was quite close, actually. I saw some people score it to Ndongo. Not so sure about that personally. And I think early, I mean, Ndongo looked absolutely gassed after about 3 rounds, and he was left with a badly busted up eye. I always felt Jenkins had more than the beating of him, because Jenkins he's just suffered badly with cuts throughout all of his career. And, in fights, that are winnable fights for him, he gets a horrendous cut and, that's it. We don't see any rematches, or he might be down a point on the cards and, he gets a loss. But that was one of those that, it was a random 8-rounder put together. And I don't mind those, like padding cards and that sort of stuff. It doesn't, that sort of stuff doesn't, bother me. I don't think the card was great last night. I said last week that, it was okay. I think, it didn't peter out to what, a couple of fights could have done. And Sky need to do better. Let's have it right. If Eddie promoted last night's card, we'd be all over this saying, it wasn't good enough. Main event, good, but the rest of it, not so good. And I think it's only right that, we're quite fair to them all, which, we usually are. And ultimately, Sky seem more interested in, like Steve said, with these stupid cameras and stuff like that, and that bloke, randomly singing
Tom Jones comes out. What the fuck's all that about? I'm what the Welsh national anthem played, man, to get myself revved up. They come out with that shit.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So I mean, I'll happily never see that guy again come out and put a performance on like that. But I know boxing has changed, but I'm a big believer of I don't care if there's fancy lights and different cameras. If the quality of fight is good, that's what I watch a show for. I don't watch a show, for substandard fights, but I'll walk away thinking, bloody hell, those fireworks were good, or they had some good production when Joe Bloggs walked out. It's all about the fights, and that's what they should concentrate on. And Shalom, he talks a good game, with some of the stuff that he wants to do. And I get, this fight probably cost a lot of money at the top end of it. But, I think, it could have done with a bit more depth and a bit more quality on the card. But overall, it was okay. But, it was boring. It was, do you know what? It was boring. It was boring. And it never helps when, you had Eubank, Shields, Antwick, Jenkins all went to points. Walling went to points. People live for for exciting fights and stoppages or big punches, and there was just in that we didn't see much. Oh, I thought Daniel Dubois' sister Caroline looked good actually. She'll be decent. She looks like she's good. I know she didn't stop her opponent.
The feather duster fighter though.
Sorry,
she's another feather duster fighter, isn't she?
I don't know actually. I think it's always tough on pro debut, isn't it? Bit. It's new to him, bit excited, that sort of stuff. I actually think that she might have a bit of spite in her shots. And when she learns to start sitting down on them, basically, and it's not all about the amateur stuff, she might start to get there. But yeah, it's it's not one that again you're going to tune in for. But she looked decent compared to some of the other stuff.
What
some of
weight
the
is
other
she at?
lightweight. So it's in the mix actually against a lot of the British fighters that are on the scene at the moment. Really,
she has to get moving to get a chance at some of them though, because like Rob has said, Katie Taylor's probably on the only had so much longer.
Yeah,
in the
a
sport.
couple more fights really for Katie, innit? Where's the heat
There's
maps,
others-
Ozzy? That's what I want to know. Where's all the heat maps, man? They've stopped that.
Well, yeah, they've clearly they clearly tried it once and then never bothered again, didn't they? So
They've kept going with the
yeah,
MC though, but the heat maps have gone, man. I thought they could have done that the other way around.
Is that MC
Yeah.
with special needs?
He's I'm sure he is English and puts on an accent. So his profile on like his
English, like
yeah, so his what's it called? His profile on it, like his agency website was revealed, and it says that he can speak in 4 different like accents, so like American, English, something else. So he puts on this fucking accent to read out names and card names and results. I find it odd, really, really bizarre. Just not normal.
Phone as well. He's still got cue cards. He's doing it off his fucking phone.
So that's a selling point then. He puts on the accents for the different cards.
Yeah. Like,
that's weird.
Sky bringing like I said, funny camera angles and different what's it called? Different MCs with funny accents.
What was his accent last night?
It sounded
American. I'd say it's American.
Sounded like Gabe after a stroke.
I said to you guys in the chat, I'm not going to repeat it.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Yeah, we'll check that out there in a second. Steve, do you have any thoughts on this card before we move on?
No, let it die for goodness sake, no.
Oh, man. I was looking at, and it looks like you might have nearly an hour worth of value of the week, so I'm going to try to putter us on in here.
Yeah, but it's true, though. I mean, the card was that awful. You're saying to yourself, right, okay, this main event better live up to the hype. And then you're thinking to yourself, right, okay, Eubank's got it. He's got him on the hook ready to go. And then what does he do? Fuck it, I'll carry him. Shite.
Yeah, thank God you have stuff over here in the United States worth looking forward to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Got, praise BL. Yeah, they put together another one.
Big Al.
Oh, let's see here. Simon Alavi says, question for the pod. Is what separates fighters like Eubank, Joshua, etc. from your Canelos and Furies the fact that they can't combine their natural style with something they've been taught and adjust when needed during a fight? Instead, they seem to be so rigid with the choice of style they pick beforehand and unable to adapt midway. Take Eubank last night as an example. His jab in boxing was working to a degree, but he wasn't able to revert to type to finish him off with high work rate and accumulative punches. Dan, Steve, that's a good question on there, but I think it's a whole lot. I think the adaptability in the ring is one thing, but I think that there's a lot more to it than just that, and what separates fighters like Eubank and Joshua from Canelo and Fury.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why some of the all-time greats are all-time greats, because they have that adaptability, that ring IQ. They're a bit able to change things up, and I think maybe as well Simon's alluding to the fact that AJ and Eubank, they're good at things. They have their style, but when Eubank's there doing the Roy Jones, he's probably thinking every second, right, I need to do this, and I need to be like this, and I need to do that. Whereas at points last night, he could have done with being the old Channel 5 Eubank, planting his feet and letting go with big heavy shots and just getting rid of Williams and stop trying to do the Roy Jones against, the likes of Brian Brannon's and Glenn Kelly's that we mentioned earlier. But yeah, ring adaptabilities, it's difficult to do. That's why the likes of Roy Jones, Sugar Ray Leonard's and that are once in a generation kind of fighters, because they're able to do things in the middle of fights that other fighters aren't able to do. So it's difficult. It's not as easy as it looks. And I've always said there's not one true style. This isn't an original thought, for goodness sake, but there's not one true style. Sometimes you look at a fighter and you think, oh, the way he's boxed is brilliant, but then it might not work against a different level of opponent. The way Jones did things didn't always work. The way someone like a textbook boxer like Mikey Garcia, his style works perfect against Broner, but it might not work perfect against somebody else. That's the whole thing. It's a chess match against styles and strategies. And Eubank is going to have to show that adaptability when he moves up in class. He might do, he might not. So we just have to wait and see.
How long has his career been? 10 years, give or take?
Yeah, I'm sure he fought in Belfast about 10 years ago on one of the Tyson Fury undercards. So yeah, it must be.
He'll step up one of these days. Speaking of stepping up, Rob Kelly jumping onto the pod here. Rob, what are your thoughts on the weekend of boxing that we just had here?
Oh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Hello, everybody. How is everyone? Hello to who's on there? Steve, Maddie, Ozzy, Andy. How are you, pal?
How you doing, mate?
Hello.
Was you for a walk on Wednesday night with a dog shoot? You get a fucking chest pump, was you?
Oh, you better believe
it.
Shut on, no way. Shut down. It's game on now, baby, in our own time.
Aye, of course, in our own time, mate.
I enjoyed the weekend's boxing, actually. I missed the start of the Eubank fight and kind of tuned in around round 8, where it actually looked like Williams was in the fight, but obviously went back and watched it. I think the problem with Eubank, there's a whole lot to unpack. The boxer and Sky Sports situation has to be said. To me, anyway, in terms of delivery and production value, it's a step down from Matchroom. Even Ed, you love that one. I don't think Boxer can compete with Matchroom. Obviously, they can't. They haven't got the stable, and there's a number of reaches there for pay-per-view stars. I mean, Daniel Dubois' sister may turn out to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Chris Eubank Jr. Fuck me, man. Like, is anyone going to be able to make this guy a star? He seems to be successful and made a ton of money without having won a big fight in his career. The Ghost of James DeGale is not a big fight. He looked sharp last night. He looked fast. Obviously, Roy is teaching him stuff in terms of how to use his attributes. But the big, glaringly obvious fucking error in Chris Eubank for me is the lack of a jab, or the lack of being able to fight anybody with a jab. He holds his left hand low, which I'm a fan of, but you got to be loose with it. He's uptight all the time with his left hand, and that's how Williams was getting back into the fight but he was winning some rounds down the stretch when he should have been stretchered out. Not buying the whole I was trying to punish him thing too much. I just think he gets caught. He hasn't got a great ring IQ, and there's only so much, like, he gets away with it because of his physical attributes. But I think any top fighter with a jab would beat Eubank, because he's not good at defending it, and he's not good at using his own. And you can get by off lead, check left hooks and stuff like that, but I don't know. I think Boxer are kind of reaching for a star there with Chris Eubank, even though he should have been, like, the trajectory of his career, he probably should have been bigger than he is. Having said all that, absolutely love Eubank Saunders too. Love it. Make it. Why not? Like, you know what I mean? You're getting Brooke Hand's retirement party on Sky with Boxer. Why not have fucking Billy Joe's retirement party there as well? I love that fight. Like, I think that's a great fight.
Umar's saying that Saunders is wanting $5 million for that Eubank rematch.
Yeah, but he's not getting that. Like, is he?
$5 million.
No, please, that's just his starting offer.
Needs to
Well,
fix his windows.
if it goes to purse bids, you never know. There could be some proof of funds there, somebody to back those funds. So who knows? Like that, maybe that fight gets made. But I love it. I love that fight. Thurman Barrios, I rooted against Keith Thurman last week. Rooting against him even more. He's not as appealing or as interesting since he cut the ponytail off, is he? He's just got like a kind of I don't know what he's got going on there. Like, he looked good, but Barrios is never a welterweight for me. Like, no chance. And I don't know, Thurman versus Crawford, good fight. I think Crawford beat the living shit out of Thurman, but you know it's a PBC fight and a step in the right direction for Crawford as a busy fight for him. It's a big name. It's a good action PBC fight. So if something can be done there while he's going through his litigation with Aaron, why not? Clarissa explained it all to Savannah Marshall last night. I think a few things got lost in translation between the two of them in their exchange. Like, but fuck it, I want to see that fight too for a Saturday night fight. I'd watch it. Like, why not?
But Ben Shalom lit the fuse paper for that one straight away.
Well, he did. He did. Well, he hasn't got. He doesn't come across that engaging when he's on television on that big platform. So, but he played a blinder with that one, didn't he? Like he just threw the grenade and stepped out. Like that's all you need to say to Clarissa anyway, isn't it?
Next thing she was screaming.
Yeah, that's how I say. Well, I think I could beat you in a fight. Well, listen, I ain't no punk. So
where's your gold medals? Where's your gold medals? I'm like, here we go.
Fuck's sake. So that was heating up. But yeah, I want to see that fight after that. So I'm a sucker for it. You know what I mean? You get two fighters head to head with a bit of beef. I'm all for it. Like, but yeah, entertainment enough. Eubank, I expected Eubank to beat up and stop Williams. He didn't. I'm a bit disappointed he didn't get the stoppage for the sake of the sport and for the sake of the platform. It's a kind of a nothing fight. And everyone that was watching it said a fucking strange performance from Eubank in a run of strange performances. Do you know what I mean? When was the last time you watched Eubank and thought, fuck me, man, he's onto something. Long time ago, like, so he's about to be found out. I don't know. I wouldn't put the house on Boxer being a success on Sky if they're backing the likes of Chris Eubank as one of their main fighters.
He all seems to be on the periphery of everybody else, Rob.
This is it.
Fighting these celebrity fights or something.
Yeah, like, and it's like he kind of ghosts through different eras, doesn't he? Like when you expect him to have a big fight, it just he's fucking, and then he's still back around. You're like, well, there's always Chris Eubank. You're like, how the fuck has he not fought anybody? Like no Charlo, no nothing, no fucking. They haven't been able to get him in with a live body. Like there's.
That's what we're saying, though, Rob. That's what we're saying. See, like this fight against Williams, this should have happened 2, 3, 4 years ago for a British or a European title.
Do you think
way past this fight, Bruno?
Do you think that you might just end up being a little bit arrogant when your dad is giving you instructions in the ring wearing a fucking suit?
And a sheriff's badge. Let's not forget, that wasn't the most bizarre thing. The suit we can fucking forgive. It was the sheriff badge. That was the odd part of that ensemble.
Stupendous.
Wasn't he wearing a waistcoat once with no shirt underneath or something?
All he needs is cowboy boots with the spurs at the back of them.
I think that's what they want. You want him to call him English.
Eubank is like Deputy Dog at fucking ringside. I don't know, man, what the fuck is going on. Like, but he's probably, I think both of them, Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, have probably exceeded my early expectations of both of them, but still haven't hit the heights that they've been fucking. That was like, I mean, there was a time for the casual. Eubank was the casuals guy, wasn't he? Like before the Billy Joe Saunders fight, especially, lots and lots of people were thinking Eubank was going to beat Billy Joe Saunders. And people seem to forget how easy Billy Joe beat him in the first half of the fight and then rooted for him in big fights after that. But the fact of the matter is when he's come up against top opponents, Groves and Billy Joe Saunders, both of them have been able to beat him off a jab. I think Groves beat him with one fucking hand, didn't he? Like, so I think fundamentally there's a piece missing, and there's just a piece missing in terms of his appeal. He's one of these guys where I'm looking at him and I don't know whether he's like extremely confident and arrogant and it's like a shtick, or he just genuinely hasn't got any personality. I don't know what it is, like, but he's just not that appealing, is he? But yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't know where the fuck Chris Eubank's career is going to end up. Actually, I'd love to know. I'd love to kind of see what does he actually do. Does he get a title fight here? Like, does he deliver on it? Who knows? Like,
he's never going to fight Canelo. He's never going to fight a Charlo. He's never going to fight who else you got? What other belt holders you got? See, like Andrade. Who else we got in terms of names? That these guys.
Fuck it, just make the Saunders 2 fight, the two of them. Fuck it, there's no other bigger fight out for both of those now. Is Saunders versus any of the Charlos a bigger fight than him versus Eubank 2? Is Eubank versus any of the Charlos, even if it is for a title? Is it bigger than Eubank 2? No, like, let's just go fucking make that fight. Like, Billy Joe seems to think it'd be easy work, so why not make it? Like,
well, That would be a good fight to make. It's got to be made for a reasonable price. For a reasonable price, though. Like I think maybe because there's enough of a domestic beef and the rematch aspect of it. I guess. I mean, I think maybe $5 million could be on the high end of like the entire purse bid for something like that. But I don't think that Billy Joe Saunders can get $5 million for that.
Sorry, not that I want to continue down this black hole, but what's the purse bid for? I mean, what would they be bidding on, like title wise?
Well, I'm saying basically, like I think like at $5 million, $5 million.
Surely a WBO there available for the Mercer.
Well, the thing is, so
there'd be enough on that for people to make money.
There's not going to be any belts in the line because if anything, this fight's going to have to happen at a catch weight, I think, because you have Eubank want to do it 160. Saunders has been campaigning at 168 for the last couple of years. He's been fat as fuck since a Canelo defeat, so he's got all that weight to take off. So it'll need to be at 168 or just something below that, 165 or something, you know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they get that made. Rob, thanks for jumping on with us there. I noticed that you just really glossed over that Thurman fight there.
Glossed over like whoever did Keith's fucking hair for the fight.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's not.
He defies your expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to what my main criticisms of Keith one-time Thurman is when was the last time he one-timed anybody? Like, it's fucking a long time, like, isn't it? So, you know, a 12-round victory. What does a 12-round victory for fucking Keith Thurman do over Mario Barrios at this stage of his career? Like, you need action. We need Keith Thurman to deliver on some of the shit that we thought he was going to deliver on. And so far, he's come up short, in my estimation, compared to what he was purported to be. Exactly.
He beat Garcia. He beat Sean. He's beat Sean.
Look at
Porter.
that. That's not a stat.
The only person
Sergio. What's the guy that fucking Mauricio? Was it Herrera or someone? Beat the fucking shit out of Danny Garcia in Puerto Rico. Didn't get the decision. Danny Garcia's defenses were against like Rod Salka and all that. Like beating Garcia is shit. Like that's not a big result.
Disgraceful decision that.
Yeah, but
Garcia Herrera fight.
Keith Thurman's had a better career than I think people give him credit for. So,
and that was meant to be a homecoming for
especially Rob.
Look, if you can still perform to a high athletic level when you're up in the fucking mountains of Kathmandu smoking the illest of fucking, you know what I mean? Smoke weed so good it makes your fucking ponytail fall out. You can still perform to a decent level. He has to get some kind of credit, I suppose.
Oh yeah, Keith, that's my dude, man. I love Keith. So we got another question in here, and then we'll move on to next week's fights. Like I said, Steve has a lot in the queue there for the Belly of the Week, so do not want to detract from that. Let's see, who is that? Oh, Greg Cross says most will give him a chance. Maybe Matty will. But if he has success, what is White's route to victory? I personally think like Wilder working to Fury's body. I don't give him a chance against Fury. I don't give him a chance whatsoever. I fucking hate Dillian White. I can't stand him. He's abysmal. Oz, what are your thoughts on this question? Do you give him a path to victory other than Tyson Fury coming in 320 pounds and drunk?
No, absolutely not. I don't see White causing Fury any problems whatsoever. I think the only version White would have beaten of Fury is the one that when he boxed Seferi, and that's because he'd been probably about 450 pounds and came in absolutely huge, and had been doing fuck all apart from abusing, like a load of booze and drugs. So no, I don't give White any hope in the fight whatsoever.
Steve, maybe if Tyson Fury had decided to drive off the road in that experience he talked about, and Dillian White was the one who found the vehicle, and Fury was still, breathing. I think at that point, Steve, I think Dillian White could probably beat that version of Tyson Fury.
Yeah, well, he'd go straight down to the body, wouldn't you? If he's breathing heavily, go straight for those lungs. But in the ring, I can't see much of it, to be honest. I think he'll have a good go to the body, throw a few swings, might last a few more rounds than people think. But once Fury starts leaning on him and wearing him down, we'll find his level again. He's done well to get to this position, considering where he came from and that, which we keep being reminded of all the time. But in the ring, he's had quite a few struggles with fighters of a lesser ability than Tyson Fury. So on that basis, I'll say Fury, probably late stoppage, maybe even points. I think White might be tough enough to sort of last the course.
I don't know about that one. I think that I think that so much of what he does is so predictable. I think it's more when Fury knocks him out than if. What do you think, Andy?
Sorry, mate. I just go back here. What was the question?
Oh, pardon. Oh, the question. We were asked if there's anything at all that Dillian White can do to beat Tyson Fury, and basically, I'm asking you is like it's such a lopsided fight. I think it's more a question of when Fury stops him, than if he stops Dillian White.
So what you think? So the question was, what's White's chances of stopping Fury?
What can he actually do that would give him a chance? The person thought that I might actually give him a chance against Tyson Fury, and I'm tremendously offended. So I'm still. That's why I sound so flat right now, because it hit me personally.
Sometimes you see with White and that he gets a bit kind of erratic with his punches, but he has got a really good left hook. But I go back to that right hand that Wilder landed on Fury in the third fight, and you actually see the power of the shot going through Fury's body, the ripple of fat going downwards. If that doesn't ice Fury, I don't see what White has got. At the end of the day, it's a heavyweight fight, though. It's possible, but I just don't see it. Chances of White knocking him out? No, I just can't see it, mate. I wouldn't say it wouldn't be against him as a possibility that they may knock him down, for example, because Fury has shown he can get dropped a few times, even against smaller guys. But
yeah, he just gets cocky. Yeah,
maybe that. But he got cocky against Wilder in the first fight with the hands down and that after the 12th round. But no, I don't see White giving Fury much problems. I think what happens is Fury could pose himself his own problems. If he doesn't take it seriously, starts clowning about that type of thing, he can caught with something stupid. He doesn't want to be doing that. So it is heavyweight boxing in the day. But I would say the left hook would be the one that Fury's got to kind of watch out for.
If Fury gets cocky, maybe. But it'd have to do something stupid, like when who was the hell he was fighting when Nate Campbell stuck his chin out against that dude and got whacked. And
Robbie Peden.
Yeah. Well, that was 2006. Remember, Nate was telling me he was just exhausted. He knew he was on his way out, so he just basically said, "Yeah, do it."
Do you think Fury comes out early to try and just do it, or do you think he just plays him and just starts to embarrass him, dissect him?
This time, yeah. I'd say he'll try and get him out of there.
For talking that, it's just a wee bit like, talk, like, okay, you got to earn it, you got to walk it now.
It's not even made yet, is it? This fucking fight.
Yeah,
There's another time this week, wasn't it, where we thought it was made, and it's not fucking. I don't even know what the fuck is going on, to be honest with you. I don't know, but maybe when it's made, I'll give it more thought. If I was thinking about Dillian White's path to victory, I'd go with Teddy Atlas, man. Try and go to the old Customato, fucking side to side head movement, getting around. Because what is he going to do? You stand mid-range or in-range at all, you're going to get beaten. Like, you're not going to fucking out-wrestle him on the inside, so you have to find a way in there. Like, and gamble. You're going to have to gamble. I mean, win, lose, or draw, he gets the biggest fucking payday of his career and will probably retire. But if he's going to do something in the fight, I think he's going about it the right way in terms of staying silent. I know he's getting pelters, but I wouldn't say nothing unless the fight was made. Now time is to train. But he's going to have the fucking night of his life. I'm sure he's going to have an extremely off night for him to get a win. Like, how would he win? I'm even just thinking, like, how could he have moments of success in the fight? How would he win? Like, I don't know. Couldn't see it.
Well, there you have it. That is what Rob's thinking on the fight. And so real quick, I guess we have a few fights to go through. Oz, you thought that... did you say that you thought Danny Jacobs was the only, and John Ryder was the only fights that we had?
I know it is in the UK. I just had a quick look then. I didn't on BoxRec. I didn't realise it was on the other.
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
Nothing in America next week.
there's a bit going on. So believe it or not, tonight on ESPN Plus, there's a 115-pound fight between David Cuellar, 20-0, 13 stoppages against Ricardo Blandone, 15-4, 9 early, and a 130 fight between Christopher Lopez, 14-0, 14-0-1, 10 knockouts against Dixon Flores, 17-8-3. The opponents being brought in both from Nicaragua, but anyone stateside, you have the ESPN Plus app. You can go ahead and check that out this evening. That's coming from Cancun. Then on Friday, from your call, also available ESPN Plus stateside, you got a 160-pound fight between Danny Dignam and Grant Dennis. Yeah. And then
Lee
also
McGregor's
on
on
that
that
card,
card, I think, isn't it?
Yep, Lee McGregor against Diego Alberto Ruiz. Going through his record, Ruiz is not going to be one of those
Argentinian.
Mexican guys that comes in and
Conlon stopped
blasts you. Yeah, he's an Argentinian, stopped by Conlon. Yep.
Mm.
So you got that going on, Oz. So that's exciting. Anything to say about that card?
He was spending the night watching that shit.
Yeah. I didn't realise it was on. I didn't see it on the BoxRec main schedule. It's an MTK card, isn't it? So I think that's their first of the year now. Good to see McGregor actually again, Andy, to be fair, because he pulled out of that one the back end of the year, didn't he? Because he had personal problems. So it is good that, he's back in the ring. A damn shame we won't see the Cash Farouk fight because Farouk's had to retire because of problems with his scans. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with McGregor now. Will Matchroom still pursue him? Because, I think they were only pursuing McGregor because he had they wanted to make the Farouk fight again. That's now gone. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. The rest of the card, I mean, it's pretty naff, actually. A lot of very young prospects turning over. And the main event is, it's for a ranking belt, and Dignam's ranked quite high with the WBO, despite, he shouldn't be, where he is. He should have too much for that. Grant Dennis, while Dignam's limited, Dennis is even more so limited. I don't think they've got any common opponents. Yeah, they have actually. Andrei Sirotkin, who John Ryder beat, knocked out actually. Sirotkin drew with Dignam last time out, and then he actually knocked Grant Dennis out. So
that's right. I saw that fight, Ozzy. That was on one of the El Siesta cards, wasn't it? Out in Belarus.
The Sirotkin.
Did
Grant
you
Dennis
say El Siesta from Belarus?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. That's fucking
funny. Yeah. And then I actually watched the Dignam Sirotkin fight again. So Andrei Sirotkin doing the rounds on the Asylum. That big name, but Dignam should win. It's a standard small hall card on Friday. MTK have put a far, a lot better on, but it's their first one back of the year, and I think it's just trying to get people active.
Well, if I get home early enough, that'll be just afternoon entertainment for me. I didn't expect.
He'll have a $5 on that anyway, 100%.
Oh, I'm gonna, dude.
$5 on Dignam.
Parlay on Danny Dignam.
No, I'm thinking of seeing what the number is on McGregor by stoppage.
Get a pat. If you're lucky, he might be able to get him at a 100 to 330 on the over/under.
Plus 150.
Plus 150 is a good number, Steve. That's a good number. Last four opponents, they're 88-5. He's not one of you guys' typical fluff that comes in and gets whacked by one of these Hispanic fellas. It seems like there's a lot more quality here. So that's going to be worth putting a little bit of dough on, at least part of my round robin. Always the round robin. Anyways, on Saturday, it's presented by DAZN. Evening, Ed. Danny Jacobs at 168 pounds taking on John Ryder. We'll get to that one in a second. Andy, kind of an interesting fight on there. 160-pound fight between Felix Cash, undefeated 9 stoppages, against Magomed Madiyov, who looked to be a good enough boxer. Not a lot of pop, but his last two, he's got a draw and a majority decision against pretty nondescript opposition. Is Felix Cash going to pull this? Is he going to pull off the knockout on this one? Do you think in just the light punch of his opponent is going to let him have his way? Or perfect. Andy just left. Steve, same question. You.
Now my internet's going choppy. Go to someone else, man.
I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up, Matty. It's all right. Cash should have far too much for this guy, I would say. I really rate Felix Cash. He's been moved slowly. You know, you find it hard to believe that he made his pro debut back in 2016, and for a guy who's got so much talent, he's barely touched. He's only just surpassed British and Commonwealth level. I think the opponent's a bit underwhelming, actually. I think if you look at his the record, it looks okay on paper, but then when you break it down, there's no real quality there at all. So yeah, it's an average fight at best, but it's one where I think Felix Cash will I think he'll knock him out. Actually, I think he'll be disappointed if he doesn't. The rest of the undercard it's pretty disappointing, actually. This card, there's no real, unless there's a couple of surprising fights that are going to be announced this week, which even then you do wonder how much notice they've had. But Jordan Reynolds against CJ Wood is actually off. Reynolds has had a bad injury; he's ruptured some tendons in his elbow, so that's a blow. You got young Cyrus Pattinson, a prospect, in a just against a standard fight. Big Johnny Fisher, big popular heavyweight, sells loads of tickets. I think he's done over 2,000 for this show alone. He's against, I think it's a big Spaniard. Not seen this guy before, but Fisher's 4-0. They're not going to put him in with a world beater now. And then you've got Ellie Scottney against Jorgelina Giovannini. So Giovannini is you'll probably remember she actually lost to Rachel Ball. I thought she beat Rachel Ball, and she was the fighter that basically got that angry because she missed weight. She decided to shave her head before the fight. So she came in with long hair, missed weight, and in anger decided to bick her head, basically, which is bizarre.
Did the Britney Spears?
Yeah, literally, I couldn't believe it. I mean, of all the things to do in anger, I mean, most people try and get the weight off. I mean, she did technically try and do that. She just shaved all her hair off. But Scottney's good. Scottney's, is quite exciting. She may have no knockouts, but she's definitely got pop in her punches. She's probably a victim of 2-minute rounds. But this could be quite a fun fight because, from memory, when Giovannini boxed Ball, she just came forward constantly and winged the shots in. So it could be quite quite an enjoyable watch for what it is. But from an undercard perspective, it's really poor. There's no quality to it. It's probably a similar levels to, if not worse than, the Sky undercard that we saw at the weekend. So disappointing.
Yeah, kind of phoning that undercard in for sure. The main event, though, unless anybody else wants to jump in on the undercard, 5, 4, 3, 2. The main event with Danny Jacobs against John Ryder. This fight for me, Rob, the Danny Jacobs that we've seen of late has been lethargic, uninterested, slappier with his shots. John Ryder, there's nothing too impressive about him, but he always works. He always tries to win. And Jacobs is just at that point where someone with a whole lot of try just might beat him.
Listen, first of all, don't talk about my cousin John Ryder like that and say there's nothing fucking to him. Everybody knows me and John are very close relatives by blood, and we're practically fucking best mates. So don't speak about him like that. No, I think this is a good fight for both of them. I think it's a kind of I think it's a past the crossroads fight for him. I mean, Ryder is an early man in a lot of ways. He's we can't speak highly enough of him here on the pod. He's given us loads of time over the years. Thanks to Oz, he's come on and done interviews even after some of his big wins. He was probably written off by everybody in the sport as a British level middleweight, and he's proved since he went up to 68 that he belongs in the conversation, at least for title shots. When you see some of the guys who've had a crack at Canelo at 68, you certainly think Ryder deserves his pop at the 68 crown. Whether he's going to get it now with the current landscape, I don't know. I think Canelo's unification run didn't do him any favors. He's not exactly going to be high on the list for Canelo now, who seems to want kind of marquee fights. So unless those belts fragment, which they probably will, as I think Canelo's talking about venturing north, isn't he? I don't know what the future holds for either the two of these, depending on who the winner is. But we're going to go for Ryder biasly. I'd say that Danny Jacobs probably hit his fucking apex about 4 years ago against Golovkin and hasn't been the same since. So I'll edge towards Ryder in this fight.
It's interesting on that one, Andy. You'd think that Danny Jacobs, considering his pedigree and who he's fought, you'd think that he would be a huge favorite in this fight. He's not. He's John Ryder's only paying about $1.50 on a buck. You'd think that he'd be 4 or 5 to 1 maybe, but I think the betting market, and especially since this is at home, I think you kind of almost have to lean towards this being tilted in Ryder's favor, don't you, Andy?
Yeah, well, if this fight was happening, say 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I would have favoured John Ryder pretty heavily, to be honest, because he was riding that cusp of a wave. He was looking really good, moved up in weight. To be honest with you as well, Jacobs, to me, but he's no fought. Was it 2 years? He said something along those lines.
When he fought Rosado, yeah,
Rosado, it wasn't exactly fantastic. That's a fight. I agree with Rob. I've got to side with John Ryder. I dare say, if he's got that same, I think it comes into a fair bit with him is probably confidence actually, and a wee bit of belief. So if he starts the fight pretty well, lands a couple of good early shots, and that, I think Ryder could look pretty good and probably win it on points. Maybe I'll say kind of like quite tightish on points. Actually, I don't think Jacobs will get knocked out. Generally is quite a big dude. What weight's it actually? Because I remember Ryder was fighting at 175 in his last fight.
68.
68, right? So that's fine. But any belts in the line? Any like ranking in belts? Because
didn't see anything about that.
No. But no, I'll say Ryder wins it on points. I dare say it'll be moments where he'll need to kind of dig it out a wee bit and that. But you just don't know. I just don't know what Jacobs is bringing at this point, mate. That's the other thing, because I was like that way. Keith Thurman just before the Barrios fight, we were discussing it. I picked Barrios because there was no body of work for Thurman over the last two and a bit years. Same with Jacobs. I don't know what he's been doing. He's been sitting on the couch for the last 2 years.
It's because you hate Keith Thurman, just like Rob, and it makes you irrational.
No, it doesn't, mate. Quite a mellow vibe here. But no, I'll go Ryder on points. I'll say like 116, 112 type thing. But I dare say he'll have his moments where he's got to kind of cover it up a wee bit. But as I say, I just don't know what Jacobs has got at this point or what his intentions are. So I've got to favour with John at this point.
That's interesting. Steve, who are you thinking?
I'll echo my thoughts from a few weeks ago when we were talking about it. I think Jacobs has been on a retirement tour, just getting paydays off the back of his name since the big DAZN payout from the Canelo fight in the heady days of DAZN when they were too fierce, too competitive, too expensive. And finally, I'm glad that Ryder's getting the opportunity. He should have headlined a long time ago. It doesn't feel like he's got the love. And now Jacobs seems a bit past it, but eventually it's going to be a name that Ryder's going to hopefully shine against. But feels like both men are not past it or shot or anything like that, but it's two names, I don't know, not on the slide as such, but they've kind of been around for a while now and maybe had their day, especially Jacobs. So I don't know what version of Jacobs is going to turn up, so I'm not even going to bother picking a winner. Hopefully John Ryder wins.
Matty. Oh,
I
sorry.
thought that was just me. I was like, what the fuck is
No,
going on here?
no. I thought I had hit my button and I didn't.
I thought you said you were all right, Spider.
No. Oz, last word on this fight.
I agree with Rob and Andy. I think John will be have too much in the tank more than anything, and I don't mean that he'll outwork him. I just think he's just a fresher fighter, and I spoke to John last week actually, and he is absolutely buzzing for this. He said it's an opportunity, that he's been waiting for. He's done it the hard way. He's suffered losses and bad losses as well. At levels that he's clearly surpassed now. But he's banged up for it. He feels great. His sparring's gone, camp's gone extremely well. So yeah, it's one I think that he's got the bit between his teeth. He knows he can't take Jacobs for granted. He's not looked into that Rosado performance too much because whilst it's easy to do so, you'd be a fool just to take it on face value. Jacobs has operated at the best level before, and you've got to give him the respect for that. That saying, I can afford to look into the last performance of Danny Jacobs, and he got a gift against Gabe Rosado. A gift. He should have lost. And I think, when you're going pretty much, you're losing to Gabe Rosado, with all due respect, I think John is a better fighter than Gabe Rosado, and he's really had a resurgence at 168. I think we all were a bit, when he jumped up there, we think, is he going to be a bit too small? Because height-wise, he's not the biggest. But he's just shown that, the 8 pounds that he was taking off at middleweight, he's now doesn't have to take off at super middle, but it's been the best thing for his career. I think he certainly won't stop him. I'll be amazed if he even come close to that. But what I do think he'll do, I think he'll get a fairly comfortable points win. So I'm thinking like a 116, 112. And from that, who knows what opportunity John will be able to get, because, if he gets the win over here, the win over Jacobs, I would assume, Matty, will carry some clout in the US. If Ryder gets that, a big win over Jacobs over here, Ryder will have opportunities. He won't be an unknown, so much in America when he's got a win over someone like over Jacobs.
It's a great scalp. It
Yeah.
really is. No matter how much we know that Jacobs isn't what he was 5 years ago, it's a great scalping name.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think it'll be. I think it'll be a big performance by John. I do think he needs to start quite well. I don't think he can afford a super slow start, because you give any fighter confidence, regardless of what level they're at. If they may not be the best, but if they're confident and they're winning early rounds, they're going to be a difficult fighter to beat. So yeah, I think John. I think they'll get the game plan right. I've been spoken to him. He seems in the right place. He seems confident. He's feeling good. So yeah, fingers crossed. He gets that big win next week, and it opens up even more opportunities for him. And think eventually, hopefully, leads to a world title shot.
That would be fantastic. I mean, at least like it's people that really appreciate it and want to have the opportunity. They're going to give a good night's work if put on that stage, and they might lose. It happens, but at some point, guys like that definitely just deserve a chance. I've been struggling with this one a lot, and it's interesting. The odds have tightened up on some places. You're getting just barely better than even money on Ryder, and that's moved. The market's definitely moving quite a bit on that one. But I think Jacobs has one more in him where he's going to just sneak it out. I don't know that he's going to look phenomenal, but I think he's going to do just enough. So I'm going to dissent, and I'm going to go with Danny Jacobs and expect to be eating crow next week. And with that, I will give it over to Steve for the Belly of the Week.
Thanks very much, Matty. It might be me eating crow by the end of this. My internet's struggling, so if I start to go down, I start to take a few too many shots, you'll have to try and drag me back up again as best as you can. Let's get into the episode 460 Value of the Week. Dominic, friend of the pod, Dominic Henry, has sent me a few Porky clips to play us in, actually. First of all, I think it's Porky and Rico talking about Bean.
Interesting moving forward, Rico, isn't it?
Interesting times, Matt.
Exciting times ahead. A cacophony of noise, Matt. He's going to have the Blue Ribbon Division back. What about the other one who come out the other day? Ready for liftoff, Matt. He sounded like they were in bed together, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly a rocket going to Mars, is it?
Bean, Bean's looking a bit old and not so bad these days, isn't he? His hair's going white, isn't it? He's looking like an old Bean now, isn't it?
He's probably being interviewed by Kozin constantly.
He sounded to me like Johnny Fury trying into Adam Smith with that accent.
Yes, what took me a while to work out who the impression was.
Oh, Bean
She get some of the voice notes, mate. She get some of the voice notes for during the week. Jesus Christ.
Liven up any promotion, that one.
Fucking wake up Friday morning and Ozzy sent me like something like fucking 15 voice notes. And what the fuck are we getting here? With an accent I couldn't even understand.
He's enjoying himself anyway.
They're solely for Rob's benefit, them, because I know he absolutely buzzes off him.
Fucking brilliant, man. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, let's fucking move on. Fuck's sake.
He's making gags. I'm not sure who the guest was, but this was the second clip that Dominic sent me. He's going on about Johnny Horsecock Nelson, no less.
Yeah, well, Johnny Nelson's only the second person in Sheffield to be smuggled out in front of a baying crowd with a blanket on his head. You know the first one, why don't you? Peter Sutcliffe.
You're obviously tonight.
Peter Sutcliffe made it 13 innings at Yorkshire Ripper. They caught him in Sheffield, didn't they?
Yeah, all right, yeah.
You know that, mate. Good history,
When over had that, Ross. That's that bad.
When they went out with a blanket on his head, they did the same to Johnny Nelson, didn't they? Bless him. And he still came back and won.
only Russ can somehow compare, basically weave Johnny Nelson and Peter Sutcliffe into the same sentence and give them a comparison.
At least Johnny Nelson didn't go out under that blanket and cuffs, so
Before he met Bruno. Good stuff. Thanks, Dominic, for sending those in. Dominic also sent this one in as well from Keith Thurman. Thurman defends pay-per-view price point of Barrios fight. Bubblegum ain't 25 cents no more, Matty. What do you think of that? Did you shell out, Matt?
Yes, I did. Motherfucker.
We need to burn this fella.
Someone has to fund this sport. Damn it! I'm used to paying for these pay-per-views. It's just a way of life. I go to work so that I keep the heat on. I can smoke grass and buy boxing pay-per-views. I'm a simple man of simple tastes.
Aye.
How much did it cost you? 75, was it?
It sure did. So that's like what, about 55 pounds, give or take, maybe 60?
Just think, Matty, with all these fuel prices going up and that, you can afford to live poor but be staying warm in your house at the same time.
Dude, what's awesome, I have a job that I have a company vehicle, man. I don't pay shit for gas.
Yeah, see the perks of the fucking free world, eh?
I wonder how much it costs for the gas for this then, Rob. Boxing legend Floyd Money Mayweather announced his bombshell new venture. The Money Team Racing will join forces with Pit Viper to make its NASCAR debut at this year's Daytona 500.
Take a big, baby. You know what I mean?
Floyd's driving it at least.
They're not going to get Errol Spence driving it, are they?
Errol Spence is the driver, man, at NASCAR. That's what we need.
You definitely don't want to do the shoulder roll in this sport.
I didn't know if that was an actual car or a new Floyd NFT drop. I didn't know. I wasn't know what the fuck was going on.
Also, one of the cars, you know it changes colour when you put them in the cold water or hot water.
One of those wee jinky ones.
The Hot Wheels.
Aye.
Yeah, Hot Wheels.
I had G.I. Joes that did that.
He's off the NFT scene. Audley Harrison was having a meltdown. Quite a few people nominated him for this one. I just did the big reveal. A-Force Promotions is back. If any fighter worldwide is looking to get some advice, I'm available. £250 an hour, $250, 30,000 Jamaican. Joshua and White, it would be a smart move to book an hour consultation with me. I have insights.
That's a worse sales pitch than any of Lloyd's ones. To be honest with you.
Insights to the world of delusion.
Okay, just what the fuck, man? Like
crystal
Audley.
ball was broken. Fuck me.
What is it? I don't even want to get it. I don't even want to get into what the consultation entails there. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
We have been left speechless.
Get him on the call, old A-Force. Toby has nominated John Brett Smith. I very much doubt Eddie will regret joining the zone. Whether they buy out BT Sport or not, it'll have no impact on him. Are you sure about that, John?
Are you sure about that now? Aye. So very better this week, Edward. Good evening, Edward. How you doing?
Oh yeah, Ed.
Hey, Ed, just to let you know, mate, we actually get some people kind of like meshed into us, thanking us for for what we do because we brighten up the week and that. I know you've been having a hard time recently, mate. So just get in touch, and we'll have a
Listen
chat.
if you want. I know you probably don't listen, but maybe do you listen? Or? Even Ed, anyway. I hope you're good, dude.
Oh,
he could ring up Audley Harrison for £250 an hour.
He's got his minions to report back what's getting said. Don't you worry about that.
Next one flying in here is Steffi Levi. Abs are back, boobs are gone, and cake is just a distant memory. The sacrifices we make. Cocaine Dawkins is nominated for this one.
Dave Allen's in the back just eating the cake.
I don't know. Hard work and dedication going into that one. So off the day, and that's Brian King. He's nominated Mick the Jambo. Coogan had dropped a new video with Eddie Hearn. He says, thanks, Cougs. Gives us all a real perspective of what's happening, rather than normal media outlets suiting their agendas. No agenda where Cougs is concerned there. Dominic Hill says Jesus wept.
Unbelievable.
Oh, good old Cougs. Next one here is Usyk. Anybody see this one? Usyk coming on missing an open.
What's he at, by the way? Hold on for a second. I saw this as well, and I was like, is this like an old clip? No. Recently, Usyk made his debut for some fucking league team in the Ukraine. Misses a sitter, by the way. He wouldn't get my fucking over 35 Astro team fresh off a fucking 8-2 win on Friday night, by the way. He wouldn't fucking. But what's he doing? He could do his cruise at the fucking throat as if the heavyweight division is not bad enough. We need him to roll his ankle or something. But how are you going to tell him he's not playing, I suppose?
I remember seeing a video of Nurmagomedov playing football once. He watches this current running for a ball. Jesus Christ, just straight lines, just run through people. Doesn't even bother running past. Just runs fucking through them.
He looks like the inmates that pick up trash on the side of the road.
He's shadow box before he comes on and that. Literally on the park, 2 minutes, the ball gets cut across to the right side. He's there, tapping, fucking misses it.
Rangers made a bid for him, I heard, on the last day of the window.
You get sent packing after that one.
Brutamente honesto. Travis J. Honestly, it's time for boxing journos to keep the same energy for Fury, Aram, and Frank Warren that they have for Eddie Hearn. Nobody challenges Fury on anything. They just danced around and let him get his nonsense lies off. Hashtag, what charity did you donate your purse to? What do you think about this one, Matty? Any truth in this?
I don't know. Has mental health in the UK improved since he fought Deontay Wilder? You tell me.
Listen, I tell you what, right? I think he's better at playing the media than anybody else. And that's not like his fault or whatever. He's able to spin journalists, like, you know what I mean? You're not going to get fucking Umar with his nice what's going on. So why are we on Instagram sitting there with Daniel Kinahan, Tyson? He's not going to say that, is he? Like, do you know what I mean? Nobody's going to say it. So Fury's just better at fucking defusing everybody and making them buy into his. I don't think he's Mary Poppins, by the way. You know what I mean? I think he's probably the best heavyweight as a fighter. As a person, I couldn't give a fuck who's the nicest or who's the better or whatever the fuck it is. Like, you know what I mean? Who cares? Like, as long as they fight each other. Usyk's probably the soundest of them all, I'd say.
I would imagine so. Fury might get tackled soon. Steffi Ball's been nominated by Franny550. Wife keeps saying us men are useless, and I'm starting to think she might be right. We've got two super talented females about to step up and steal the show. Hashtag boxing. They're even better than us fighting at now. Hashtag jobs fucked. Steffi enjoying the women's boxing.
All right, nice guy as well, Steffi Bull.
Is this regarding the Serrano Taylor fight, Steve?
I think it was the Guo.
I think you're serious. Yeah, the Guo time, baby.
Oh well, yeah, that's.
Steffi enjoying the quote. Boxing Kingdom, congratulations, Caroline Dubois, on the win. Had her winning that 4-3, very impressive. Asim says, hopefully her dad, Daniel Dubois, can get the win too. Banter was nominated for that one.
How many fucking rounds was her fight?
It's a troll account, Boxing Kingdom, isn't it? I don't know who Asim is, though. And next one, Ben Russell. He says, the bloke singing Delilah has got to win it, surely. Andy, did you enjoy this, Poundland Tom Jones?
Fuck me. As I say, if you wanted to get me revved up before a big fight, get the fucking Land of Your Fathers getting played. Then I'd be up for it. But fucking that shit. Tom Jones wannabe, man.
Andy only likes the fucking Tom Jones impersonator of Fools and Horses. He was listening to him on Wednesday because he was quiet.
No wonder Liam Williams came out cold after that, though.
He was singing that, actually. It was actually Tony Angelino I started thinking about.
Yeah, Tony Angelino, yeah.
Having the fucking stuff in his pants and that as well, you know.
He's the latest nomination. A few more to go here. Can't remember who sent this one in, but tom.co.uk, insurance for dads. I just want to get home safe to my wife and kids. Tony Bellew explains, Rob.
He's gone quite well. He actually has disappeared because he hasn't. He's just on his own now, and he can't be seen anymore. Like, no one's watching him. But I'm looking forward to this. What is his brutal mente honesto with Tony Bellew? He's telling the truth. He's giving it the real deal. He wants her to get home.
Angry. That's the new pod.
Oh yeah. Has anyone? No, I've neglected to listen to that. I'm not doing my job really.
Neglected to listen. I think it was Brian King sent that one in. Charles has sent this in. Opinions BXG, like him or not, you have to have respect for Dillian White. What a guy. Born in poverty in Jamaica, stabbed, shot, became a father at 13, endured over 1,000 days as mandatory challenger, like he was locked up somewhere. Next, he lives his dream of fighting for a world title. Well, Russ Amber had a different list. He said tested positive before his fight with Oscar Rivas and hid the finding, never opened the B sample, switched the gloves he had previously selected for a pair that were never inspected by anyone from the opposing camp. What a guy.
He nutted at a chick when he was 12.
Yeah, I thought it was a list of his. Which one was the list of his good shit that he did? I thought that was the one.
He was at least temporarily the coolest kid in his neighborhood.
Yeah, but hang on, though, mate. He learned late in life how to pull out. Look at all the faces pulled out.
I don't understand why all this has anything to do with him getting shots or not, though. Because Spencer Fearon was like this, wasn't he? He said White was innocent. Based on the fact that he was blood or something. I mean, that's not really a defence.
Jamaica and that. It's like fucking Rivas came from fucking gold spoon country, eh? Fuck me, man.
I have news for whoever put this slide together. Boxers have rough lives. You know what I mean? Lots of them have overcome adversity to be where they're at is kind of fucking par for the course there, pal. Fucking hell.
This is like 50 Cent combined with The Harder They Fall.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Rob got that joke, at least somebody got that goddamn joke.
Wish just got out here.
Ebony, beautiful milk PR. The guard, Andy. The guard.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy wasn't believe me last night when I said Ebbs has got the breast suit. He's like, aye, right, liar. He's like, well, it was close to it, I suppose. But aye, the guard. Didn't he seem kicking about ringside last night, though, with his shirt opened up, that type of thing, you know, showing off his nipples and his fucking crate.
Who's the one she's with there, this one?
Some PR woman.
That is actually, is it?
Sounds like a fighter. Anyway.
No, it's not that Michaela Mayer. She was on the commentary last night.
What was that, by the way? She was just like, had the Jerry Spice fucking Union Jack. Yeah. I will tell you, she's probably, I'd say now, right, not to detract from her because she was good on the microphone, but she's probably like Costello a bit better on the radio. You know what I mean?
Prefer Poncho myself.
Should my antenna anyway.
One man who wasn't on the mic is Christopher Lovejoy. He's on OnlyFans now. I'm throwing my own pay-per-view fights now on OnlyFans, and if he's getting the lad out, but he's there.
Fucking hell.
There was Maddie said he was just a broke ass sitting in his car. He's proved everyone wrong.
You can go pay-per-view on YouTube, for example. Why is he going to OnlyFans like a fucking fiend?
He's going to have boxing pay-per-views on OnlyFans?
Is he doing like Malik Scott OnlyFans or Tony Bellew OnlyFans? What version of, or Adrian Broner?
He's streaming his fights, he says.
Is
what's
this
Who's he
worse?
fighting though? Diabetes?
Is this going to be in Tijuana again? Like, maybe
dunno.
he's combining the two. Maybe it's him fighting and then Donkey Show.
What's
You'd
worse?
rather see him with his cock out than him fighting, wouldn't you, to be honest, if his previous fights were anything to go by?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what's worse? Him streaming his fights on OnlyFans or Adrian Broner trying to find his knob under his belly? Fucking.
She's out fucking outrageous. Would you rather watch Christopher Lovejoy with his cock out and watch him fight?
It's a good question for the listeners, actually. Super chat your answers.
Jesus Christ. Old faces and everything, but we're fucking playing with it.
Don King in the background waving American flags.
Boxer measuring him up. Measuring his height and reach.
It's going to end up in a really, really terrible reality show. Everybody.
Well, he's got the right
Chris.
name for fucking. He's got a pretty good name for OnlyFans, hasn't he? Lovejoy, like Lovejoy.
Anyway, better leave that one alone. Shuey's nominated Jake Paul. This is one of the biggest fights ever. Today is about Amanda and Katie. They deserve this stage, says Jake Paul. Hashtag Taylor Serrano. Hashtag for history.
For that, surely. Fuck, man. So he just go to bed with that hair.
He looks like the bastard child of Boris Johnson.
He looks like one of the Lost Boys, doesn't he? People are crazy.
Good old Jake. Greg Cross, Shield Punch Pier is like a hairline. Weak. Hashtag Bellew of the Week, says Greg Cross. Not happy with the hairline of the goat. Well, here she is. I thought she was doing her teeth or something. Burberry on my feet, 35 on my neck, felt like a bad bitch. Boxing how I cash 6-figure checks.
Yeah. Talk
go.
that shit to growth. That's what
In the travel lodge.
That's what we're talking about. In the travel lodge, yeah.
There's a press behind her, I think. In that.
Look at this fucking vending machine. Has pot noodles. Yeah.
And knock out men in sparring. The only thing is, men are in a wheelchair. That's the only fucking problem.
I tell you what, man. Talk your shit to Growth. The Growth provided entertainment on that dull fucking ass Sky Card last night. She livened the shit up. It reminded me when she was talking to Savannah Marshall. Yeah, thanks to Ben Shalom for that one. Lighting the litmus paper there to set that one off, because it was like you know, like it reminded me of if they had kind of like a celebrity Big Brother with like your one off of Geordie Shore and like Tiffany Pollard New York from I Love New York, like, and they just from totally different worlds and they start cursing each other out. Nobody really knows what the fuck they're saying to the other one. Like I thought it was a bit like that, so that was good. Like, go on the quote.
Go on the quote. Next one, final few here. Oh, here we go. Welsh Ollie, amongst many people, nominating this young fellow. He says, Chris, I've unloaded my life savings onto you to win by knockout. Now, there's some belief right there, says Eubank, who later on went to say that he was carrying Liam Williams and didn't want to stop him. Obviously not thinking about this poor young Callum and his life savings at the very moment, Andy.
He's probably just thought, fuck you, mate. You're fucking broke.
True. That fella's ever thrown his signed microwave out through the fucking window.
Fucking fridge, you can fucking follow this soon after.
Yeah, Audley getting nominated again. He was on bit of on one. Scott Robbins nominated me. Audley Harrison, says Audley, would have beaten Vladimir Klitschko for the heavyweight championship of the world if he didn't have a nervous breakdown in 2004 caused by a treacherous campaign by BBC Sport to force me to give up my company. Why BBC Politics? Why?
Yeah, you fucking assholes. And another thing, all the great things that I could have achieved if it wasn't for my multiple nervous breakdowns, it's making me think.
Little does Audley know, Rob, we saw him fight during that BBC era. That was
Audley. I was in the house when Audley got beaten by Big Rogie.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
Undercard. So there was a lot of say politicized singing from the northern attendees on the night. It was lively in there. In the old Excel, I think it was. Fuck's sake.
Oddly can't live in a world of ifs, you know. I mean, if I didn't go into that public restroom when I was 9, my mental health would be so much better. You just can't live in the past.
It's bad enough, like you have a fucking nervous breakdown, and you have a fella who's a taxi driver beat you, and he shouts in the dressing room, "Taxi for Harrison," or "Taxi for Audley," or something after he wins. fucking you'd be on the floor after that. Fuck's
Oh,
sake.
the Rogie run was a great run.
And he's still got a David Hay fight for a world title. Fuck me.
I know. And he caught me as well that night. That's why every time I feel sorry for Ollie, I think back to that night that I paid fucking 20 quid or something that watch him fucking not
Saw
throw
you
punch in
coming
the
that way.
fucking. Oh,
You must have had a moment of weakness,
fuckers.
mate. I'll tell you what.
I'm telling you, man. That was it. That's what they made me. Thanks, lads.
No moments of weakness from this fellow. Ryan Holmes, late entry for the guard. For the guard scarf, or is it one of Ebony's tops wrapped around his neck? Looking swift there,
Like
Andy. the guard.
Shabaggy's got or something there.
He looks like he's fucking recreating the Sade album cover, doesn't he?
He looks like fucking Sean Bean with hair.
No need to
He's
dance on a
actually-
smooth out- Yeah, he's about to get killed any second. Every time Sean Bean's in, he fucking bites the dust, doesn't he? He's fucking next. Let's hope.
Looks like a
Head
dying
isn't coming.
lesbian in a shawl.
Sean Bean!
Oh, to Adam Boo!
Final couple. Here's one from
Oh,
you,
seriously.
Andy, that you sent in. I fancy my chances as a catchweight. Ben versus Eubank. It could happen.
I see it.
Let's see it. Let's get it on. Money talks.
We're here for.
Bullshit
Yeah,
walks.
he should try and fight somebody at his own weight in their prime first, rather than calling it unrealistic catch weights.
What is Ben's a welterweight, isn't he?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Nah, it's not going to be any catch weight. We fucking just got to get it done. Shows how, you're putting 147 on notice. Put Eubank on notice. Let's
Hey.
see it.
Ezekiel did it. Ezekiel jumped up to middleweight and boxed Kennedy Golovkin. So Conor Ben can do it.
Rodriguez jumped up 2 weight classes on less than a week's notice.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Badass. Oh, he's a badass man.
Chase the
That was only a
greatness.
few pounds,
Chase the
really.
greatness.
Come on, man. Let's be honest.
Come on now, Steve. Why are you going to do this?
54? Could they do it at 54 or 58? What could they do with that?
Steve being a
No,
cunt here, eh?
160.
It's only a few pounds in it. Fuck you.
Get it done. Get it done.
Sounds better when you say 2 weight divisions. Come on, the fuck.
I know, but Superfly to whatever it was.
Yeah, I know, but
Just saying,
It's
just saying,
7.
just saying. Could be worse. Could be this. Sean Porter rocking one of Danny Garcia's suits.
here, I've just seen the link that Matty sent us. So it's $99 to buy
No.
this. $99.99. It's
What, the
fucking
suit?
horrific. The suit.
$99. It's like, it reminds me of that episode of The Cosby Show. Remember when the guy stitched his own fucking shirt? Malcolm Jamal Warner did his own shirt. Oh, you are too young to fucking remember that. You only remember the bad side of Cosby.
I'm going to say, compared to Bill Cosby, I'll say the suit's the least of his problems.
But
That is-
everything in there
that
is
is
less than
Danny
$100.
that is
I'm tempted to buy the lavender one, Andy. Check out the lavender suit.
Nah,
It's
mate,
one tone.
That's Is it Danny Montana collection? That's what it's called.
Yeah.
That's
Danny
what he's
Montana.
basing it on the fucking Scarface. And that. I like.
I like the cut of his jib there. I tell you, my friends are lucky none of them have weddings coming up because I'd be rocking up in that baby. Or maybe give me a green and white one.
To be honest, I like the Black Diamond one. To be honest with you.
It sounds like all up my street. I'm gonna get a bit of that for the next fucking formal occasion.
He's even got kids wearing here as well.
The Danny Garcia collection. Get on it, everybody.
God,
Last
the
one from
Danny
me before we see what the boys have
It
got.
has to be tough to buy for your skin tone, Andy.
Aye, well, I'm no white, mate. I'm pale
But
blue.
there's a heap of leopard print on it. Is it Danny Garcia in the Angel Garcia collection? It's just fucking leopard print and everything.
Good old Angel. Right, yes, someone sent this in to me. I can't remember who it was, but it's been during the week making sales, trying to push Boxer and Sky and goodness knows what else. Love a bit of Bean.
The atmosphere is going to be electric. We also have one of the greatest sports people of our time, the incredible, charismatic phenomenon that is Clarissa Shields, on defending her world treasure. And she just...
World's treasure.
Sales
Fucking
Bean.
Long John Silver. Why is he
why
talking
can't-
like that?
I was going to say, why can't he speak normal? Why is he going from the charismatic and then the abnormal? It's like, fuck me, he's a weirdo. He's an actual weirdo.
He sounds like he's struggling with a fucking 4-year-old shite trying to squeeze it out when he's talking there, eh?
Tell you what,
He's a
by the way,
weird-
Bean's book, not half bad. Give Bean
Look at
credit
that
where it's done.
thing. He's a
Gels in
fucking
him,
loser. Honestly, he's a loser.
He's a loser.
He likes ketchup, though. Big ketchup fan.
We'll never forget.
What did he say about what was the comment about Tony Bellew though? Was it the in reference to the bomber? It was nothing to do with the bombings at the Manchester Arena though. Yeah, thanks for that, Adam. I used to think that. Yeah.
Ozzy, you that night on the pod when Ozzy goes, who's sitting at home thinking that bastard Tony Bellew's in the Taliban?
Exactly.
We'll never forget. Oh, fuck.
All-time great moment that was from B.
Brilliant, man. One of the best ever, actually. That was. Fuck's sakes.
Right, that's all the ones that I got. Any from you, Matty?
All I had was that Sean Porter suit and the subsequent look at the Danny Montana collection.
That's a nice full Sean Porter. Good nomination from Matty there. Any from you, Andy?
Yeah, I've got one for Clarissa Shields, mate. Just in the build up to the fight. Yeah, she says, if boxing doesn't work, I'll bang. If I've got to mix it up, I've got to mix it up. I've got to be like Muhammad Ali or like Mike Tyson. I know I have to switch it up. So yeah, it made sense to me as well, that one.
Yeah, GWOT.
The GWOT. Yeah, that one for that guy as well. So
she wishes she had their hair.
I like Savannah Marshall's comment, Andy, when she goes, "You were fighting a child in there."
Yeah, you're fighting a child, man.
You're like, wait, you don't like cooking? What are you saying? Fuck you, did
Sorry, Andy, go ahead.
I like the bit of that. I have to say that was good crack.
The IBF still hunting for a fucking an opponent for Hergovich. I think they're doing something. I can't remember what they're doing now.
I told you it is. It's
Is
Big
that
Bang.
confirmed? Has he been confirmed for
Big,
anything, right?
is it him?
Yeah, it's all but confirmed. It's Big Bang's Hele Zhang. That is going to be an absolute massacre.
Shit face there, fight that. Holy shit. Been quite quiet for me this week, mate. I think the other one, obviously, I'll give another one to Eddie for talking about or open to signing Crawford. Just like he's got no fights for him. And I just think back to Eddie's spiel to like the Charlos and that. It says like, there's no fights for you. You need to come to the zone ASAP. So I'm saying to myself, Crawford ain't going to be. Someone needs to send Crawford that fucking video. Eddie Heard talking that shit just to say, you don't go there, mate.
He's going to Al, man. If he has a brain in his head, he's going to Al, isn't he? Like, who else is there out there for him? He's not big enough to go out on his own. Like, he needs Al. Like,
yeah.
So that's it for me this week. I've not really got much this week.
I think him and Thurman are going to end up fighting. I think that's the only money fight that the PBC can get Crawford over for with Spence tied up.
Rob, any nominations from you?
no, just I quite like the Clarissa and Savannah Marshall. That was good. And Eubank for his 12th round. What the fuck was that? Like, that was embarrassing. That was just pure embarrassing. Like, it's not. You're not Roy Jones, man. Like, you're not going to be Roy Jones. Like, just nobody's Roy Jones. You know what I mean? Apart from Roy Jones, it's just, it's pathetic. Like, it's a pathetic impression. Like, I'm fascinated at no more the commentary. Like, they make illusions. Like, so he's implemented some of the Roy. He's copying some. He's doing an impression of Roy Jones YouTube highlights in the 12th round versus Liam Williams. It's not like, it's pathetic. I thought it was fucking shambolic, but anyway.
He's like the Roy who fought Enzo and Lebedev and them at the end, Rob.
Yeah, exactly.
Even his facial hair is a tribute to Roy Jones.
It's just, it's all a bit, I don't know, I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't like it, but there wasn't much else. Eddie was a bit salty in some of the fucking interviews, wasn't he? So I hear anyway. I didn't watch the whole lot of them, but he's laying the blame on fucking. And I think, like, actually, yeah, wasn't he saying something like Warren gets PR from Umar, but like Eddie gets PR from Coogan, they're all getting PR from someone. Who gives a fuck at this point? Will the fucking Fouriers, whoever is involved, get the fucking finger out, maybe speak to someone's advisor and get one of these fucking fights made, even one of them, like, instead of talking on YouTube every fucking day back and forth like a bunch of women. It's embarrassing, like. So, yeah.
Well said, Rob. Talking on YouTube like a bunch of women. Oz, any nominations from you?
Yeah, one more actually, and it is for Bean again. It's for Adam Bean Smith. So, as well as his eccentric video that he did pre-show, he also inadvertently revealed that he has a foot fetish. because
What?
he mentioned no
Wait,
less
what?
than five. He mentioned no less than 5 times that he knows that Clarissa Shields likes to wear slippers constantly, and he said this on commentary as well. So yeah, he's clearly obsessed with feet because he couldn't shut up talking about Clarissa Shields' slippers.
We look at the head, he looks at the toe.
Was it
Loses-
slippers or something?
Lose his mind with Ebony Bridges at ringside, man. Fucking gear bag full of socks.
Michaela Mayer sitting next to him, but you can imagine what he's thinking to himself. Now he's sitting there getting a wee selfie taken with a wee cheesy grin, like Chrissy Boyd sitting there. You know,
Actually,
Yeah,
there was
crying.
and another one for
Cry wanking.
there's another nomination for there's another nomination for Bean as well, actually, because at the weigh-in of Shields and that woman she was fighting, they were stood posing, like with their arms up and stuff like that, and he was just caught from behind, popping his head round a couple of people, looking at their asses, and then popping his head back.
Brilliant. Well, speaking of which, I thought I had nothing. Failure of the week for me because we're watching the fights last night in the house. The missus is like, Ebony Bridges is popping up on the screen. She's like, "Who's she?" I'm like, "Oh, she's the blonde bomber." Like, she's like,
How do you know that?
she's
nickname?
like, yeah. She's like, "Oh, you see?" I goes, "I know." She's like, "I goes, one of them's half decent." Like, Olmanov looks her up, like, don't she? She's looking at me like. And I look at her and she's got the hump. I goes, "I saw it." She's like, "You're a fucking idiot." Oh, fuck's sake, man. Brilliant. Oh, fucking hell.
Good stuff. Good strong week then. I think I know who I'm going for. Who are you going for, Andy?
What was the rundown, mate?
Oh, let's have a rundown, shall we? Just quickly.
That's a big
first
rundown.
Of all,
No,
it is
it's
a
not-
big
that's-
rundown.
that's-
Oh, hang on. Sorry, I've
Going.
I've neglected to mention this one actually from Horsecock. He said White would fight for nothing.
Oh,
Says
there we
Johnny
go.
Nelson.
There's the winner right there.
I forgot about
That's
that.
the winner.
The fella who's fucking taking litigation against the 80-20 split. Yeah, you do it for fucking nothing, man. Doesn't care about the money.
So we throw him in
Right.
late. With Thurman as well for multiple offences, including his hairline. We got Floyd going into the NASCAR route. We had Audley Harrison, quite a strong week from him. A few casuals as well. We had Usyk doing the old footy. Tony Bellew just wanting to go safely home to his wife and kids. Dillian White and the riposte from Russ Amber. We had the Groat herself. A little spat with Savannah was good. We had the guard complete with his scarf. We had the suit. We also had Eubank, but it's got to be only one man for me. I'm going for Bean, Andy.
Nelson's bringing it close up, mate, but yeah, I'll go with Bean. I think it'd be multiple offences and very, very thirsty man, so maybe you need to get his hole a wee bit as well, possibly.
2 for Bean. Also, you going for?
Yeah, tough one actually, because we need to that moron who apparently put his life savings on Eubank to win by stoppage and he's now bankrupt. So I think he deserves a mention because he may have no money, but if he could win an award, that's great for him.
Yeah.
But obviously, and then the late one was that Johnny Nelson one because I thought, fuck me. I mean, is he that thick? He's coming out saying he'd fight for nothing, yet the guy's trying to fucking kick off with the WBC about a percentage of what he earns. So that sums up Nelson in a nutshell. However, there can only be one winner this week, and that is Bean himself, Adam Smith, multiple offences. And I think the one that locks it in is probably either his obsession with feet, and then when he was caught on camera perving behind a couple of people looking at their asses of the Goat and her opponent as well.
He's got to do it, don't he? He's got to do it there.
Can't blame Bean for that, Rob.
In the presence of greatness, he's not going to fucking do that.
Who's it for you? Wanna Bean as well then, Rob?
No, it's a surprise. I'm going to give a surprise vote to Alexander Usyk. Man, come on, give us a fucking break, will you? We can't. We're no closer to getting a fight. We think it's going to be you versus AJ. We do not need the fucking broken metatarsal or whatever that's going to put the fucking fight back, man. What are you doing? Like, you don't even play football. You're the fucking unified heavyweight champion of the world. Like, give us a break, will you? For fuck's sake. It's like Roy Jones playing basketball before a fight. That's what I'm saying. You come up to training, you're like, look at Alexander, you used to sit there last week. Yeah, but I'm starting, though, aren't I? Yeah, you're starting, man. Like, but I'm just saying.
Can't have too many things. Can't do too many of the Peter Van Vossen finishes.
Well, he wants to get very, very feel with his first touch, I think.
At least he can play football.
Jade can't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so Usyk for me, being Alexander.
1 for Usyk, 3 for Bean. Matty, it's irrelevant who you pick, no pressure.
Considering that it's irrelevant, Steve, I'm going to have to go with Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and the Danny Montana collection, which can be in your closet at the low, low price of $99.
Good stuff. Well done, Sean. Well done to everybody who entered, whether by chance or not. Congratulations, Mr. Adam Bean Smith. You are the Belly of the Week winner for episode 460. Let's have one more listen to you before we finish up.
The atmosphere is going to be electric. We also have one of the greatest sports people of our time, the incredible, charismatic phenomenon that is Clarissa Shields, on defending her world treasure. And she just...
Treasure.
Long John Silver, fucking Clarissa Shields. What the fuck is that about?
All right, there, Timberlake.
In the skies and in the seas.
The Vasily.
Clarissa Shields walking out with a fucking eye patch and a peg leg out to the ring. Fucking hell, defending her treasure. Okay.
Well done, Bean. Well done. Just for hand back to you, Matty. Thanks to everyone who's dropped in super chats. Mark Mills, Declan Graffin, especially Chris Burns, No Contacts, Katie Taylor, and Ricky Graville. Back to you, Matty. Thank you.
Yes, thank you everybody for those very, very generous super chats. We appreciate it very much. And we appreciate everyone in the chat very much. I appreciate Steve Wellings, Ozzie Smith, Andy Patterson, and Rob Kelly very much. And hopefully we have some boxing to appreciate next week. Until then, I was your host, Matt DiGelinardo, and we will see you folks next week.
We'll never forget.
Golly, that's good happening.
Go to Adam Move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking ass.
We'll never